Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, then, to Simply Race, the Endurance Series Season 4. We are here for round 1, 12 hours of Buddh International Circuit, and top right of your picture you saw in the venue at Simply Race over in Milton Keynes. It's still Fordzilla in the lead of this race, comfortably 18 seconds ahead of Camsport. Third place is Barracuda. Fourth place is Radicals Online. Avanti Racing in fifth. Cadan Casual Apex in sixth position, up from the back of the grid. And E-Team Brit in seventh. Lamati languishing down in eighth position, 3 laps down. And I'm pretty sure I saw Alex Goldschmidt on camera earlier on there. I wonder if he's back with us just now. He is not. He is still busy enjoying the social activities down there just now. So great to hear him. And we've got a yellow flag. So what on earth's happened here? Let's have a look at... the yellow flag's cleared, so it's probably just a car going off. But we'll have a look. Oh, and that's Camsport! Camsport off the track and looks in severe difficulty right now. What has happened to that car? We're going to have to get our man on the scene, Alex Goldschmidt, down to find out. That car looks stationary. It looks absolutely beached there. So, oh my goodness me. High drama. And, well, that is an absolute disaster. We'll have to find out from our race direction team what has happened with that car. Very unusual for it to be left in the side of the track there. And, wow, that is high drama for Camsport there. And I honestly do not know what to say there.
Neither do I, because there's a discussion going on between Ben Brown, Chris Wilson and Christian Kelly. Ben was behind the wheel when the incident happened. And again, another twist in the tail here, David.
Oh my goodness me, so it was a bona fide incident then, an actual accident. I wonder if they're considering whether to keep going. It looks like they have got going. The car's still stationary from the looks of it there, and I'm just absolutely stunned to see that, given that Camsport were in the lead of this race. Let's go to a replay then, and this is going to be on the run down to turn number 4. And what has happened? Oh, the steering has just gone on the car, Alex. So that was straight on. And there is no steering input in that car at all.
No, technical repairs going underway as we speak. I see Grant Lyman at the front of the rig. Ben Brown now climbing just out of the seat at the moment. And yeah, it's... The thing is that, as I said, it's a test of not just drivers, but also the machinery. And there are times when sim rigs do have issues. And unfortunately, out of all the teams, I mean, we had a code 80 brought back into play when Camsport had the throttle issue earlier in the race. So the race director decided, out of courtesy, just to give that place back. And at the moment, there is some forensic work happening behind the scenes. So they're going to try and get them back underway as soon as possible. But let's not forget here, David, this is a 5-round championship. And very much like we talked about in the early stage of the race itself, that you can have an incident earlier on in the race, and it's better it happening then. It's going to be the same with the championship at the end of it all.
Yeah, although I've got to say, if it's a steering wheel failure, then you've got to presume that it'll be the same outcome, that a code 80 will be may be thrown. Again, we're just speculating at this point, and that Camsport will be essentially given their position back, in which case it would probably be easier to throw the code 80 now and just kind of neutralise the race almost.
Yeah, I mean, I know for a fact that Team Fordzilla will want competition, and Camsport have been giving it to them in spades, as I've just seen that Team Fordzilla, who are now leading on, we're now over the 100 lap marker. Leaders currently on lap number 102, and they just got them past E-Team Brits, who currently still sit in 7th position at the moment as things stand.
I've just realised as well, I believe Grant Lyman will also be serving as race director and race control for this meeting as well. So he's really having to kind of do everything right now. But as you said, like, these things do happen, and it's obviously it'll be a temporary thing. We will see the racing, the real racing, resuming very, very shortly. But the Radicals Online, I've got to be honest, still, I'm looking at that car, and it's still Christian Kelly. Sorry, not Christian Kelly, excuse me. It's still Adam Tierney behind the wheel of that one, and he is still just absolutely throwing it. We've got our first penalty, Lamati Racing. Is that going to be for track limits? Oh my goodness me, that's gone from bad to worse for Lamati at the back of the field, and they get a penalty as well, Alex.
Well, actually, it looks to be Callum Cripps behind the wheel of the Radicals Online car in pod number 7 at the moment. So Callum Cripps absolutely lighting up the timesheets at the moment. He's trying to push like crazy and get a bit further forward now. There is work underway on the pod for Cam Sports, and that's pod 5. So I think they're just trying to effect repairs and then reboot the system and see if they can bring them back onto the server. And there is a discussion going on. I think I see Charlie Crossman from Team Forza on the other side of the conversation, and I think also Jack from Team Fortilla there as well. Sean Arnold looks to still be behind the wheel of the Team Fortilla car in the number 1, who are still leading. So 103 laps. We are more than over 320 miles completed so far in terms of race leader distance. Yeah, decent effort so far from all of the drivers, and with a significant hardware repair on the way. Don't be surprised. Right, sorry to cut across you there. Looks like the pod is back up and running. They're trying to connect it to the server right now as we speak. So how this is going to affect the outcome of what happens, because we're now into our number 4 of this. Well, we're now into the last 8 hours and 50 minutes of the race, David. It's going to be interesting to see how the storybook plays out on the next chapter.
Well, I mean, it leaves a big issue, because obviously it'll be very likely that what we saw in the early stage of the race will happen again, where the Cam Sport team are allowed to unlap themselves and get that position back, that second position. But I mean, what sort of an effect do you think, Alex, this is going to have on the team? I mean, this is a big distraction and a bit of a mental block for them almost.
Well, looks like Chris Wilson has just jumped behind the steering wheel and put the headset on, so Ben Brown out of pod number 5. Looks like the car is now in the garage, so we're hopefully going to see if that now starts to move, as looks to be, Team Fordzilla in the pits.
Yep, Team Fordzilla in the pits, so are Lamati out in the pits just now.
Yeah, so looks to be a rudimentary stop, and Charlie Crossland looks to be getting behind the wheel back again. Good opening stint from him, as that looks to be a little bit of an off-track excursion. Lamati Racing, I think, have just gone off, and that was off of turn 3.
Yeah, they're really not having the best day out, are they? It's been a very, very difficult day for Lamati just now, but they get things going again. Thankfully, no damage from what I can see to the car there. I'm just keeping an eye on Fordzilla for their pit stop. So from my reckoning, Cam Sport are going to have at least 5 laps or 4 laps to undo the damage, and I just don't see how they do it from there. But Fordzilla out of the pits then, and that brings them to within 15 seconds of Barracuda, who now move up into second place. But we've got another yellow flag then, and that is immediately retracted to Barracuda into pits. So do E-Team Brit. Radicals Online, right, temporarily, this is going to move them up into potentially second place. I find that absolutely outrageous given what happened to them at the early stage of this race.
Yeah, just seen that Hamish Easton has now jumped behind the wheel for E-Team Brit in pod number 15. Realistically, now we get another driver, very new to the team. Hamish Easton running with, it's effectively online with Cadan Casual Apex for the E-Team Brit GT Challenge in one of their two, they've got two teams running in that championship. They've got Cadan Casual Apex and they've also got Divario Corsa, both running in Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evos on the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform. And rapid pronunciation there for you as well, David, just to wake up your eardrums a little bit.
Just to show off again, that's what it is with your multilingual ways. Now,
God.
I'm quite impressed. So obviously, I don't know all the ins and outs of R Factor 2, but somehow they've managed to put Camsport back in second place.
Well, it looks like we're going to be getting a message very, very shortly through the communication channel from Grant Lyman imminently, which is happening as we speak. Okay, Camsport had a pedal failure, but they've lost their extra lap on fuel.
Oh, that's a small price to pay. I want to know how that happened. Like, not the pedal failure, but how did that happen that they were able to put Camsport back exactly where they were? That's witchcraft. That's so cool. I've never seen that before. I mean, obviously it might be a thing unique to R Factor 2, Alex, but I mean, I was expecting a lengthy delay of at least 10 minutes while we had a code 80 to get that resumed.
When you think about it, this is a LAN event, David, and when you've got a standalone server, it really does showcase how quickly the technology can be instigated from a software perspective.
It also shows you how amazing Simply Race is as a venue to have these events on it that we can get up and running again with absolutely no loss whatsoever. So just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to get involved in this, if you want to take part in our next race, which is going to be the 6 hours of Imola in the GTEs, head over to simplyrace.co.uk. That's simplyrace.co.uk/SRES. That's SRES for Simply Race Endurance Series. And we will see you on track for the next one. Back to normality. Normality is resumed here at round one at the 12 Hours of Buddh International Circuit. It is still Fordzilla now ahead of Camsport by 28 seconds. Then third place for Barracuda, with fourth place for Radicals Online, fifth place for Avanti Racing, sixth place for Cadan Casual Apex, seventh place for E-Team Brit, and eighth place, languishing at the back, is Lamati Team Racing.
Well, it's time to grab someone from the paddock, and good to have alongside me Phil Webb from Cadan Casual Apex, the team manager. Phil, got yourself Dan and also Jordan Hearn racing here. It's been an interesting one, hasn't it, to say the very least?
Interesting and certainly exciting. I think it's also more to the fact that it feels weird to me that the last time we were all in the same room doing this was nearly 2 years ago. So kind of being in the same room as everybody rather than being online, yeah, it feels great for me personally. You know, it allows you to. You tend to find that obviously being online and what have you, it's kind of difficult to make a personal connection with people. But with having people here, it's infinitely better in my opinion. Infinitely better.
I think person-to-person contact, like we're talking actually alongside from each other, rather than like say when I interviewed Dan Hyde on a Zoom call at some point last year. It makes it so much more tactile, so much more visceral. You know, you're able to talk to people, and you know, there's only so much that you can understand from a Zoom call or a Discord chat, because they do say that body language makes up 70% of the emotions that you're bringing across the conversation, whether you're agreeing to disagree on a particular subject thereof. But how's the team been gelling so far? I mean, we're over 3 hours in. We're heading towards the 3.5 hour mark. I mean, how's the pace been from yourself, Dan, and Jordan so far?
It's been great, actually. I mean, we're very lucky that we've managed to kind of keep the same team that we've been doing other series with. So there hasn't been that disjointed connection that feels as though there perhaps could be if you had different members of the team. But things are going really well at the moment. We've had a nice, clean race. Touch wood, of course.
I did touch one at the, I don't know whether it was Wood or MDF a bit earlier on, but you've also got a sister squad running in the E-Team Brit GT Challenge di Vario Corsa with Sean Campbell picking up a third place, the first ever podium for di Vario Corsa on their debut, and especially in the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. It's nice to have another team that works in conjunction with the Cadan Casual Apex and to sort of expand the remit, if you will.
Certainly is, yeah. It's obviously for the first couple of seasons of the E-Team Brit GT Challenge, we had just the one team running, and I'd always kind of wanted to do more and possibly expand more into that side of things. So when the opportunity came to essentially create a second sister team, kind of jumped on that, as it were. And we were very lucky that Sean Campbell got recommended to us from a fellow competitor of all people. And I'm always up for giving somebody a shot, giving somebody a chance. So I kind of went, yeah, all right then. And yes, then to get a third place at Kyalami in the first race, it was like, wow, okay, what have we stumbled on here? And to have the two teams working simultaneously together with the same car, it certainly makes setups and everything like that a hell of a lot easier, hell of a lot.
I think one of the other things about sim racing is that we're able to make personal connections, even though it's through Zoom calls, Discord chats or Skype calls or whatever, but having to deal with different team members on different continents, Sean Campbell being one of them, how do you manage it?
With difficulty, I think is the word I'll use. It's not been too bad. Obviously, with modern technology and social media and everything like that, it's certainly a lot easier to keep in contact with people than perhaps it was 10, 20 years ago, of course. Obviously, with text messaging and Discord and everything like that, talking face-to-face or via a phone call, obviously time differences make things a little bit more tricky, but yeah, text messages or the written word, as it were, that certainly makes things a lot easier.
So coming back to the first round of the season, it's a 5-round championship. Obviously Imola next up, then you've got Road America, Elkhart Lake in Wisconsin, then we've got Portimao, a lovely track that I've actually seen from a slight distance, but from the adjacent karting circuit, which is right next door to it. But then the 24 hours of Spa-Francorchamps. I think the Simply Race Endurance Series has got a really good mix of different circuits for this season, would you say?
Oh yeah, one of the things I do like is about the Simply Race Endurance Series is that you don't tend to find, dare I say it, that a lot of online series tend to use the same tracks or very similar tracks to it. What I like about the Simply Race Endurance Series is you have that variety. You have tracks that perhaps you would expect to see, but also tracks that, well, you possibly wouldn't see. So that keeps things a lot more interesting, I find.
Well, what's your thought? What's your optimistic, realistic approach to the first round? Obviously, you guys are running in P6 at the moment, a couple of laps down. You're hoping for maybe a top 5 finish at the end of the race?
Just finishing is an achievement in itself, especially in endurance racing, and 12 hours is not anything to be sniffed at. Optimistically, I'd say third. However, I would say anything, top 5. I would be more than happy with. I mean, some of the competition here today is almost on another level. Such, you've got teams like Radicals Online, Fordzilla and things like that. So there's a lot of competition there and a lot of very stiff competition. But yeah, top 5 I'd be quite happy with.
Well, Phil, thank you very much for your time and all the very best of luck to you, Jordan and Dan, for the rest of the race.
Pleasure. Thank you very much. Take care.
David, back to you.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much there to Alex. We were listening to Philip Webb there from Cadan Casual Apex, as you said, teamed up with Jordan Heem and Daniel Hyde. However, our attention has firmly been on this battle for the past 5 minutes now. The gap closed all the way down between Barracuda and Radicals Online. And can you believe it, Alex? On the road, granted the strategy is completely different, Radical Online having that extra pit stop, but they are fighting on track for third place right now.
Now I'm getting a prime bird's eye view of seeing Callum Cripps in the in pod 7 at the moment, and he's right on the back bumper to the inside, heading through into turn 4. The pair are side by side. Callum Cripps looks to get in there. Barracuda sticking to the outside. They are side by side through the apex. It's going to be a run down to the very next corner. This is absolutely brilliant here, and we're with 8 hours and 37 minutes still to go. And for the next corner, inside line for Barracuda, and Callum Cripps still keeps it planted around the outside, but has to back out of it.
Wow, take a bow there, Barracuda. That was amazing moves there. Hugely defensive driving there from Barracuda, but couldn't get anything from Radicals Online. And that was an absolute masterclass in how to defensively drive Radicals Online. Callum Cripps going to have to regroup, rethink that one again. But wow, that was awesome stuff there. And you'd better believe that he's going to be trying that one again.
Yeah, I think he's gearing up already because he's not too far behind. The gap between them is about half a second. Into the next left-hander they go. That's turn 16, now across the start-finish line. A very different perspective I'm actually getting down here at Simply Race, David, because I'm actually seeing inboard telemetry being shown on the steering wheel, bumping over the curbs through turn 1. Go Barracuda and Radicals Online. Callum Cripps not done yet. He's going to be in the slipstream again through, coming out of turn number 3, takes a tighter line, loses a bit of momentum there. That allows Barracuda to get away ever so slightly, but here is where the slipstream could help, and now Callum Cripps is catching, and catching rather quickly.
I don't think it's enough though. He's not as close as he was that last lap around. Barracuda, I think, are going to be able to breathe a sigh of relief just on this part of the lap just now. But again, you see how very wide that car goes. Callum Cripps able to just masterfully drift that car round the corners, getting the absolute best he possibly can out of the track and out of the car itself. And Alex, I mean, 8.5 hours left to go in a 12-hour endurance race, and this is just...
Barracuda's just gone wide, and so is... we both jumped at that one, didn't we? Wow, that was crazy. That was going through turns 8 and 9. They both went wide, so a stumble from both drivers there, from Barracuda and Radicals Online. Battle for third place, still not over and done with, and through the twisty stuff, a little bit more excess track being used by Callum Cripps. As he loses the back end twice. That's not what Callum Cripps needed, but he's got to start gearing himself up to have another crack at the whip, so to speak.
Yeah, this is fascinating stuff that we're seeing here, because Barracuda as well having a bit of a wiggle out of that final corner, out of turn 16. The car's come across the line to start another lap there, and the gap now just 0.3 of a second on the brakes into turn 1, that long right-hander. And again, Barracuda looking very, very wobbly, I think is the nicest possible word I could use there. And up the inside goes Radicals Online. Surely that's never going to work. It's not, but Callum Cripps is he's making a nuisance of himself right now.
Well, the thing is that I've just been informed by the Barracuda camp that Callum, who's currently in the vehicle at the moment, has got 4 laps of fuel remaining. But Callum Cripps in the slipstream. Here we go again, up towards the inside. Who's going to be the last on the brakes? It's Callum Cripps this time. Up the inside, pair side by side. They don't... back end steps out for Barracuda, and that gives Callum Cripps the opportunity he needed to get up into third position there through turn 4.
Yeah, that was inevitable is the word I want to use on that one, but Callum Cripps having to push as far as he could with that car. And I tell you what, that Barracuda car looks an absolute handful, Alex. Maybe you'll be able to appreciate that in person if you just watch the oversteer of that car. It really looks like an absolute handful to drive. And then look at the steering inputs on that car, left, right, in a fraction of a second. And I think the tyres are looking a bit dodgy on that one.
To be honest with you, one of the things that also comes into play, when a vehicle has more fuel on it, it pushes the car into the tarmac. It helps with the centre of gravity. So that could be a little bit of an understanding in the way that the characteristics of Barracuda's car getting a bit tail happy and having to overcorrect and compensate for what the car is doing as E-Team Brit, Hamish Easner, decides to comfortably, casually gets out of the way. Very good spatial awareness. Hamish based out of Braintree from Essex. has made the trip up here. So very good to see that Hamish is doing a very good job for E-Team Brit. But yeah, just the way that Callum Cripps just went, you know what? I've had one chance. I've got another one. I'm going to take full advantage of it. And boy, did he do that.
Yeah, fantastic stuff to see. And again, it's I made the point right before the start of the race saying, we've only got 8 cars. We've got a yellow flag. Who has went off there? I'll try and get an ID. I think that's E-Team Brit. They've got going again, but E-Team Brit. Oh no, that is Barracuda! Barracuda have stopped. Now, is that a technical failure for them as well? Please tell me it's not. Goodness me, this is high drama here. And yeah, that is a bit curious as to the timing of that, if that is a failure there, Alex, because it's right after they've been overtaken by Radicals.
Yeah, well, the thing is, they had 4 laps worth of fuel left. So,
no.
I mean, in fact...
Oh, they've got going
They've got going again. They've got going again, so... Not too sure. I'm sure that we'll find out imminently. I would very much imagine there, David.
Yeah, we'll find out with that one. Like we said, though, I mean, that car really did look an absolute handful. So that, I mean, obviously they don't lose a position, they just lose a ton of time. They've lost about 45 seconds because of whatever happened there. Lamati into pit lane yet again. They're currently 3 laps down at least on your race leader. Just to remind you, with 8.5 hours to go, it's Fordzilla still in the lead from Camsport. Radicals Online in 3rd place, Barracuda in 4th, Avanti Racing in 5th place, Cadan Casual Apex in 6th, E-Team Brit in 7th position, and Lamati Team Racing down in 8th position there.
Yeah, it has been rather interesting all the way through what has been an interesting 3.5 hours so far, David. I mean, I think there's still more to come.
Yeah, almost certainly there is plenty more to come, and you are in the right place to watch it. This race is going to be on YouTube. I think we're just going to do the entire race on the one stream. If it does change, we'll obviously let you know about that. But as always, like and subscribe like the video, subscribe to the channel, and you'll get to keep up to date with all of the awesome action here at Simply Race. But this is Avanti Racing then, currently trying to catch down the lapped car of E-Team Brit right now. And with all the cars relatively well spaced out here, Alex, this is a bit of an artificial time that we can kind of get our breath back here.
Yes, breathe and actually have a chance to sort of take the atmosphere in, so to speak. But Avanti Racing just about to put a lap down on E-Team Brit, and Hamish Easner keeps out of the way. Radicals Online now in the pits. So could that be for a rudimentary stop?
Yeah, that will be. That ties in with their pit strategy. I think it was Radicals Online that actually had a couple of laps left of fuel rather than Barracuda, purely because Barracuda are on the same pit strategy as Camsport and Fordzilla. Remember, Radicals pitting significantly early after that incident so early on in the race, about 15-20 minutes in. They had to take pit stop after severe damage to that car. And the fact they've got all the way back into 3rd place, Alex, is just nothing short of a miracle. But back to your race leaders here. It's been just a flawless drive from Fordzilla, hasn't it?
Yeah, to be honest with you, the moment that they got past in the pit stop side of things, that's where they've been able to eke it out. And a team that's very, very switched on, and Fordzilla have got an absolute schlackload of talent, not just over here in the United Kingdom, but also overseas in Europe and elsewhere. And Fordzilla is actually, from my memory, one of the first teams, if not the very first team, to be a fully works-backed effort from a manufacturer, and one of the biggest global manufacturers that has been around in the automotive industry for a very, very long time. Based out of Padborn, in just outside of Detroit in Michigan, a Ford Motor Company. And they've done, Ford in their own right, have done so much over sports car racing. I mean, they beat Ferrari in the 60s with the original GT40. They came back 50 years later with the Ford GT at that time. And now they've thrown their hand into the esports ring, and they really have showcased that their talent is very much appreciated within this community.
Yeah, it really, really is. And it's always a boon for not just the drivers, but for the sim racing as a whole when you get that manufacturer support. Obviously, you see it thrown behind the likes of, say, the Gran Turismo World Championships, or you see the official backing from the manufacturers. But still, it's still early days for manufacturers to have fully fledged esports teams, almost esports divisions. McLaren are another pioneer, I would say, of the sim racing brand and the sim racing identity. And I think that really is the future of these brands, for them to adapt and to fully embrace that digital side to themselves.
I mean, obviously, you mentioned earlier on the Adidas Sim Racing Expo being hosted by the Nürburgring this weekend. One of the organisations that has really come to the fore, along with the likes of the Automobile Club de l'Ouest, is the virtual competition organisation led by Florian Hasper. And, that company based out of Munich have done so much for the sim racing community. It is so good to see that there are companies that are willing to look outside the box and bring sim racing to the masses. And it just goes to show how accessible it is for anyone that isn't able to go and afford to go in real life racing. This is a very, very good alternative.
Yeah, it really is. And there's such a buzz around esports as well. And of course, that's small e, capital S. But esports just now in general, a lot of companies and a lot of corporations and a lot of big businesses now keen to get involved because they've heard that's the cool hip thing to be in with. And it's just great to see sim racing and companies able to help bridge that gap between companies that want to get involved with getting into esports and sim racing and things, and actually hosting and organising proper events. And we've got to take our hat off as well to Mike Yao at Simply Race, because we work with him and a number of the staff there on other projects, and the work that they do is it goes hand in hand with that, because the work they do helps raise the profile behind the scenes. And maybe it's not the sort of public facing part of it, but it's just as much important for the rise of sim racing that we've seen.
Well, I mean, taking it from a broadcast perspective here in Simply Race, I mean, there are multiple screens where I'm sitting in the back office at the moment, 2 keyboards, well, 3 keyboards actually, a mixer, a touchpad in order to, with shortcuts on there. There are shortcuts on the keyboards, timing, different angles, the live broadcast feed, vMix. There's so much technology that I think a lot of people are not really aware of in just how much computing power there is. There's 2 towers underneath the desk as well. Well, 3 actually, I've just been indicated by Mike. I mean, I've seen pictures when he sent me snapshots of what he's working on. And I thought mine was bad enough with a main computer in the middle and 2 screens to the side of it, but literally I've got nothing on Mike Yao.
I've seen his setup. It's something like 8 screens or something like that he's got going on at once. And the other thing is, he's got on those 8 screens, he's got 4 windows at a time at the very, very least. So again, it just shows the level of professionalism, the level of effort, and the level of skill that goes in to actually presenting these races. And we are a very, very privileged pair, Alex, in terms of the fact that we get to enjoy these races, and we get to be part of these productions. And I've said this numerous times before, but you still have to kind of pinch yourself, don't you, that these broadcasts and these productions are actually happening, and this is the level of interest that there is in sim racing right now.
I think one of the other good things is the camera angles. I mean, just look at this replay now. Now, this is Barracuda. Nice slow-mo shot, runs wide coming out of the apex. I mean, the camera angles that you have in sim racing, there are so many infinite possibilities. I mean, I even know, people that work in real-life motorsport, like Gary Paravani at Dynamic Photography. he's been working with ECO, and it's like there is a completely different skill set that you need to learn and adapt to when it comes to some great capture shots that I've seen, some great screenshots where you see a car going through an apex, or you've got this really nice sort of shot where it's an endurance race, you can see the sunset coming in and it really gives a nice background hue. There is so much detail that can be brought to a sim racing broadcast, but also to the media that are reporting on the respective championships as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to the behind the scenes sort of stuff, and I've always thought that there is a huge thing, as we see E-Team Brit going very, very wide there, that there is a huge dynamic in terms of, and that is a big moment there for the E-Team Brit car. A huge moment, just to finish up what I was going to say, for camera operators, real life camera operators who are trained in, because at the moment it's all done by in platform, it's all done by the sim for the most part, locked onto the car there, but it's almost an art form in itself, and I think that it really will be something that we see coming on in the next sort of 5 years, to add to that production value. And you're going to see sim racing production companies becoming teams of almost 40, 50, 60, 70 people involved with making these broadcasts happen.
Well, I know some companies that already have over 100 people working in certain organisations. And when you look at the global aspect, the global appeal, that is why so many companies are getting involved with sim racing. And it's just a small snippet of what's to come. You know what you're saying about the technology? The way that computer technology evolves with the likes of CPUs, general processor units, cooling systems on PCs, I think the technology is going to bring that around a lot quicker than 5 years. I would say probably maybe within the next 2 to 3, we're going to see a quantum leap in what we already have, and it's just going to add that little bit more of polishing to the product. When you have people that were commentating at the circuits, the way that working remotely from your office or from your home, like we've done over the last 18 months for the majority of it, you and I, David, it has gone to show that everyone, whether they have been in the sim racing community before or they've joined it through a major change in circumstance, particularly with what we've had, it really has, it hasn't blurred the line, it's made it that more clearer, but it means that you can go across said line without really causing a problem, and it's really added a great breadth and depth to the community in a whole.
It absolutely has. It really has. And we're currently watching. This is Lamati Racing just behind. I believe that's Radicals Online that they're actually behind. So several laps down at the moment. But Radicals Online now just 6 seconds behind Barracuda on track. And given that they've had to pull that extra pit stop, Radicals Online actually now, because of Barracuda's issue, they're in a position that they'll actually genuinely be able to beat them on track on the same style strategy, because Barracuda will have to pit very, very shortly, and that's going to bring them in the clutches of Radicals.
Yeah, very true. I think it's just all about how the pace evolves, and Radicals Online are close to getting into the sub 1 minute 40s. Avanti Racing now into the pits from 5th position. So yeah, it's just going to show that the pace that is being brought by Radicals Online, the 2019 Simply Race Endurance Series champions, the podium is on for the number 7.
That was crazy thought, to say the very, very least, on that one. The fact that they could be in with a shout, and let's face it, it's not an outside chance. They've got a very, very strong chance of getting the podium there. So
right,
a big development, just
virtual safety car.
Yep. So that is code 80 gets brought out, and I'm wanting to see what that is for, Alex.
I'm sure that we'll find out momentarily, but yeah, code 80 for everyone. So pit limiters have been instructed by race control for all teams to hit, so will not exceed 80 kph. This is the second one of the race. The first one earlier on for Cam Sport with their throttle issue when Christian Kelly was behind the wheel. So it's going to be interesting to find out why. We're just waiting for the information to be relayed through the respective communication channel.
I wonder if it's for Barracuda, Alex. For if you remember, they had their moment where they were stalled on track for about 40 seconds. I wonder if that's maybe to try and give them the time back on that.
You could very well be right. I mean, it was more a technical issue. So it's going to be a case of finding out what that is, but I would imagine it is probably because of that technical issue. They were running low on fuel at the time, but it was a technical issue that caused that to happen. But yeah, so the jury, well, so to speak, the jury is out on that one because we don't know yet.
Yeah, for sure. So if you are just joining us, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's David Christie and Alex Goldschmidt taking you through all of the action here from the virtual recreation of Buddh International Circuit, JP Sports City in India. We are here for the very first round, the opening round of the brand new season of the Simply Race Endurance Series. And what a race we've had so far. We are a couple of hours into the mix. And yeah, it's been an absolute cracker right now. Just watching the minutes click by here as we see Lamati Racing moving to the inside of the track there. But Fordzilla in the lead by just under a minute from Camsport, Barracuda in third place, Radicals Online in fourth, Avanti Racing in fifth place, Cadan Casual Apex in sixth, E-Team Brit in seventh position, and Lamati Racing in eighth. Alex, so much has gone on. What stands out for you so far?
Well, I've just been informed by our broadcast director, Mike Yao, that Barracuda has just had, there's a monitor change happening at the moment, so hence the fact for the code 80. So that is currently underway as we speak. But the moment's really for me, it has to be the battle between Avanti Racing Radicals, Barracuda and Radicals, when they were battling side by side for position, no quarter given. And it was actually Radicals and Avanti, wasn't it? So the way that Callum Cripps just kept his calm, he kept that car side by side, a multi-corner exchange, that for me has to be the highlight of the race so far. We've seen some great strategy calls. I mean, Team Fordzilla's strategy call has been on point. A real shame for two dramas for Cam Sport this race so far. Two respective pedal issues, but they are still in second, so all's not lost yet. There's still 8 1/4 hours to go on the button right now. But yeah, I think Callum Cripps' performance in Radicals Online, I mean, he just really, it was Barracuda and Radicals. I mean, it was just the way that people were just trying to go through as Lamati Racing had just gone off the circuit.
Are we at the beach building sandcastles?
There's a lot of gravel. Sorry, I just had to throw that one in there. But yeah, it was just the case of, like, the side-by-side battling that we've seen. There's been a lot of clean exchanges, and that has to be instigated on a 12-hour race. They are treating it like a sprint race, but the code 80, I think, is going to be a little bit elongated, but it is part and parcel. Obviously, we have to cater for what happens with modern technology, so hopefully the virtual safety car will be withdrawn, and then we can get back under full racing conditions as Cadan Casual Apex is in the pits.
Well, what a race we have had so far. Goodness me. Right, well, we've got a code 80 underway at the moment for a technical change that's happening on the third place Barracuda. That should be dealt with very, very shortly. So I think while we've got that, we'll cut to a very quick commercial break. And when we come back, hopefully, we'll be back under green flag conditions.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm going to need to go a bit remote very shortly, David, because I need to try and catch up with some more drivers. There's plenty of time for me to fill along with that as well.
Yeah, if you want to, absolutely go and jump onto your.
I'm going to fill my boots. Don't worry about that, mate.
Oh, goodness me. We're still watching Lamati Racing just making their way, well, trying to make their way around the track, but at this slow speed, I think they're actually struggling quite a bit. This is second place of Camsport, who were in the lead, but it's not really been their afternoon just now. They're a little bit closer, but to be honest, Fordzilla, with Sean Arnold behind the wheel, have been absolutely sensational. They really have. They've had so much pace in this early part of the race. So you can see their picture frantic work going on to fix that technical issue, that monitor change, because obviously these pods are all identical, they're all mounted, and obviously one monitor having to get removed, the other one having to get plugged in, as it were. And as if by magic, I can see the rather glorious figure of Mr. Alex Goldschmidt making his way up there. Hello there.
Yes, you can. Hello.
Actually,
Good
Alex,
afternoon.
there's a good point, actually. Why don't you give us a little explanation of what we can see behind us here on the webcam?
Right, okay, so behind me, so we start with pod 1 over there where Team Fordzilla is just over there. So all the pods go round all the way through, and just by the alloy wheel shod with the, well, it's got Pirelli P0 markings on this. So we've got 15 pods in total. You've got all the seating area here. You've got a couple of screens up the top here, a couple of screens up at the top of the bar, which is stocked with alcoholic beverages. Also a coffee and tea machine as well, energy drinks, soft drinks.
Did you say alcoholic drinks?
Yes.
Do you want to grab me one, buddy? Do me a solid.
I might have to virtually send that to you via email, via WeTransfer or something like that. But yeah, I mean, there's a Batak machine. We've got our podium. The 3 trophies for round 1 are there, ready and waiting to go. But also, you've got the communal area here where a lot of people are chilling out, grabbing drinks, having a conversation, maybe talking a little bit of strategy, who knows. But it's always best to leave those conversations over there because sometimes you don't like to earwig.
Well, no, I do. I'm a very nosy person, so I want to hear exactly what they're saying.
Right, code 80 has gone off, and now we're up back to full speed now, David.
Yep, here we go then. Racing has resumed, and Radicals Online have got some company just behind them. That is Camsport, actually, that is trying to put them a lap down. Sorry, that's Lamati, actually, behind them, the number 12 car that is trying to unlap themselves, rather unsuccessfully, I've got to say, as we see Alex heading out of shot there. So great to see that technical issue very, very quickly resolved here at Simply Race, and a fantastic venue. As we said, located in Milton Keynes. Get yourself down there, head over to simplyrace.co.uk. They've got tons of different activities that you can take part in. If you don't want to take part in the championship, you just want to take a little bit of time out for yourself, then you can absolutely go and do that. They've got a licensed bar, you can book online and get it all done remotely, and then just head down and have a fantastic time. If you've got a small group, then you can take part in that. You can organise a little race for yourselves, but if you've got a larger group, then they can cater for those and make some proper party events as well. And Alex, I'm pretty sure I heard you in the background there.
Yeah, you probably did. There's a lot of banter going on around as well, which is great to see. Just looking from my vantage point, just part where the podium area is, it's really good that everyone's just having a laugh and a joke at each other's expenses, of course. But yeah, back up to full racing speed. It's really, really good. I mean, I think, I'm not too sure yet, Callum Cripp's still behind the wheel of the number 7 Radicals Online. So yeah, Charlie Crossland behind the wheel of Team Fordzilla number 1, now leading by 56.5 seconds. And at the moment, I think, yeah, Chris Wilson's still behind the wheel of, and we're now 125 laps in so far, with coming up to the end of the 4-hour mark in about 8.5 minutes' time, David.
Yeah, fantastic to see. It really has been an enjoyable race so far as we head to the 4-hour mark here, with about a third of the race just about gone Fordzilla looking very comfortable out in front ahead of Camsport and Barracuda in third place. Fourth place for Radicals Online. They're about a second and a half now. They're on the tail of Barracuda, and this is now going to be a formality for them to get past into third place. And this is now including the fact that they are on a different strategy. So this is now going to be a proper position for Radicals Online here, Alex. And yeah, this is a turn up for the books. It really is after their earlier issues.
Yeah, I think the thing is now that Callum Cripps is on a binge of speed. He's not going to give up. He's going to keep on pushing right up until the final second of this race, and as much time as he can sit behind the wheel of that sim rig. And really good to see. This is going to really. You're going to like this, David, because equipment being used here, Thrustmaster, my friend.
Nice. Is that the T300s?
Well, I know you got a cheeky T300 RS at home, haven't you?
I know, it's a brilliant wheel, and yeah, it makes it really good if that's the equipment that they're using there, because it's sturdy, it does the job. And you know, we've had a couple of equipment failures, but you got to think that you've got, you know, hundreds of people using that equipment. So I mean, it does hold up very well, and very sturdy stuff. So yeah, great to see. Looking forward to hearing some more interviews from yourself, Alex, in a couple of minutes. I know you're going to have James Lambert with you from E-Team Brit, so we'll wait with bated breath for that. But you'll be watching the screen just now and watching Callum Cripps in this Radical Online machine. I mean, it's scandalous the pace he's able to get out of this car.
The man's a bandit and he knows it.
Wait, I thought that was Martin Buchan.
He's also one. Hello, Martin. Hope you're doing all right, buddy. We love you, really.
Oh, Alex, a drive-through penalty for Cadan Casual Apex and E-Team Brit for pitting under full course yellow when not needing fuel. So they are going to get a drive-through penalty, and that is that's a bad day gone worse.
I've just seen a shrug and a half from Max Spooner from E-Team Brit. He's just gone, well, whatever, and he started laughing. That's fine. That's the main thing. It's all about the bants, isn't it, Max?
Good stuff. You gotta love it. Well, I mean, at this point in the race now, with what looks like, surely not, is that the fact that Fordzilla have lapped everybody up until Camsport? That is craziness right now. But again, that is hand in hand with what happens in endurance racing. Lap differences are very commonplace, and it's again how these teams undo that damage that is done there. And that is what the story is going to be for the next 8 and a bit hours. Oh, good to see the SimSport racing community in there. Good to hear from Drifter Dave Hedges. He said, go and give Charlie a hug. So, right, okay, I think what we're going to do, I'm now going to get James Lambert from E-Team Brit to join me. Now, James, first couple of stints in the car, what was the initial feeling? And over the course of those 2 stints, how did the track evolve, and how did the car come to you over that?
The track evolved a lot over those first 2 stints, very much gripped up quickly. It was a bit of an adjustment period. I think it took the first qualifying stint of practice for me to get used to the rig and the switch over, but by the end of it, I was quite happy with it. Got a great start off the line, went from 8th to 5th. Then it was sort of fighting there for most of my first stint, ended up in 5th, 6th. We were a bit out of sync in the end. But it was good first couple of stints. Hoping I can get back out there later and claw back a bit of time for us and challenge 7th again. Unfortunately, we're currently 8th, but I think we can challenge 7th and get back up there.
I think Max Spooner has just made himself the butt end of the joke, when obviously we just heard that you guys are one or 2 teams that have been given a penalty for pitting under the full course yellow of the virtual safety car, the code 80. We're not requiring to get fuel, but the biggest shrug and then a big laugh from Max was... it's quite funny, because this championship is very serious, but in the meantime, we're having a lot of banter, a lot of fun, a lot of joviality between friends who are able to see each other again after such a long time.
it's been a while. It's great to be able to do this with the team again. Physical events like this, it's awesome to be able to. And yeah, with some of these things, you know when you're sort of back to rights, and they sort of questioned us as they came round, and you can't say too much other than yeah, our fuel is suspiciously high if we didn't do that. So you've just got to admit to it and go, yeah, just hold your hands up. And to be honest, we just forgot that piece of the rule book. Just thought, all full push, fuel's kind of low, let's take advantage. Quick, let's check the rule book off. We've done it, which is perhaps not the order we should have done that in. Then realised our mistake.
So the checklist was a little bit awry, so to speak.
Yeah, in this particular instance, but it was just one of those where you do things quickly and then realise, oh, wait a sec, if I misremembered, and in that kind of situation.
Now, when I spoke with Max earlier on in the broadcast, you along with Michael and Hamish are newer team members of E-Team Brit. Firstly, I wanted to ask, obviously, with regards to your disabilities, that it gives you a sense of motivation to push forward. I mean, how did you get involved with E-Team Brit, and how is it for you actually in the sim? Are there any adaptations that are having to be made at all?
Yes, for me in particular, it's mostly just a matter of planning and understanding when exactly I'm going to be in the car. So I have a joint condition that affects my ability to walk, use a wheelchair part of the some distances and such. I'm currently using the stick to stand here. But as long as I keep sort of my med schedule just before I go into the car, I can happily do a double 2.5 hours, 2 hours time without being too much trouble. It's just
sorry to cut across you there. We've just had a bit of a moment between Radicals Online and New Barracuda just then. David, what happened there? I just heard the ooh from the crowd, and literally Radicals Online just went flying past at a rate of knots.
Yeah, Radicals Online just basically, Callum Cripps tried to send the Barracuda car to the nether realm, failed. Barracuda, they kept it going, but yeah, that was code brown. Never mind code 60. That was code brown.
Clean up on aisle 10. Yeah, code brown indeed. But as we were saying, so you said that you got a routine, but how did you get involved with E-Team Brit?
So I saw our E-Team Brit. We're basically just interested in taking some racing to a different level, understanding how to use hand controls. Sometimes my legs are the limiting factor with my sim racing, and I knew E-Team Brit had hand control systems they developed and had done some very interesting things in that area. So I saw them out, had a session and chat, and then got involved from there. Did a few races with them privately, and they asked me to come along to this event.
Well, James, really good to see you. Thank you very much for being a part of this, and all the very best of luck. So James Lambert from ET Brit there. David was in for the first couple of stints. Really good to hear from him. And as I said earlier, sim racing is accessible for anybody.
Yeah, inspiring story as we see a replay side by side of, oh my goodness me, that was closer than I actually thought between those two cars. Wow, actual contact between Radicals Online and Barracuda. Barracuda into the pits and confirming that it is now third place done and dusted for Radicals Online, because essentially strategy is now no longer an issue. As we cross over the 4 hour mark, we have got 8 hours left to go in this race, Alex. 8 hours. We've got 2/3 of the race still remaining. And we've literally packed so much into this opening third of the race.
Yeah, there's still 2/3 left to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere here on the official first round of this season, the 2021 and the 2022 Simply Race Endurance Series. Head to simplyrace.co.uk/SRES to get involved. You can also connect with us on social media. Why not tag us on Twitter and Instagram at Simply Race and use the hashtag SRES. Second round of the championship, 28th of November, the 6 hours at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, running in GTE machinery. So at the moment, with now 4 hours out of the 12 completed, Team Fordzilla lead the way on a 66.4 second advantage over Cam Sports. Radicals Online in third, Barracuda running out the top four. So the top three teams on the same lead lap, with Barracuda, Avanti Racing, Caran Casual Apex, Lamati Racing, and E-Team Brit rounding out the 8-strong grid at the moment, David.
Right, here's a little bit of a shocker for you. Camsport Radicals Online, 14 seconds between the two of them. Now, granted, there is a very different strategy at play here. However, I am now starting to wonder whether Radicals Online can look to try and contend with that second place here, as we see them trying desperately to get past Kadan Casual Apex. Kadan pull off the racing line and actually let them past. But yeah, this is now a lot of variables that we didn't think were going to happen. I find it absolutely absurd that Radicals are in the position that they are, given what happened early on in the race. But they are just doing an amazing effort here, and all credit to them right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the sector times at the moment. Radicals Online, 0.6 quicker in Sector 1 and half a second quicker in Sector 3. Callum Cripps has just had to make his way past Kadan Casual Apex in the meantime, going through the final set of corners, going through turns 13 to 16, but manages to get past out of the final corner, and now we'll try and start to hunt down. Gap now down between Cam Sport and Radicals Online is just about 14.5 seconds at the minute.
Yeah, it really is awesome stuff that we're seeing developing here. Fordzilla, the gap 67 seconds, so it's over a minute over Cam Sport. Radicals Online 14 seconds behind them. It's then another minute back to Barracuda. But we are going to see pit stops now start to factor in. Again, it's going to be Radicals that take their first pit stop, and then it'll be onto the other cars as well. Again, we'll have to remind ourselves of the different schedules there, Alex. But again, I just wondered if you can give us a sense of the excitement. 8 hours left to go in the race. What's the noise like in Simply Race?
It's a bit subdued. As they say, David, the calm before the storm, and that is very much true. I mean, there's been a few oohs and ahs, obviously, when we saw that radical moment from Callum Cripps, no pun intended there with the race team name, of course. But I think it's when we get to those final 90 minutes to 2 hours to go, I think that's when things might be a little bit quieter. And then as soon as you get into that final half an hour, that's when I think the nerves will start to show a little bit. The tiredness will be setting in rather well and truly. And some people have more than just a local commute to get home, myself included. But at the minute, everything just seems really, really nice and chilled out. There's no one being all shouty, apart from when we see a fantastic move happening on the cards. And that's the whole point of endurance racing. There's always peaks and troughs, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about what we're seeing just now. Now, obviously, the car's fairly well spread out, and each of the drivers in their own little bit of space. But what that allows is actually for the drivers to concentrate, to actually get the head down and just keep putting in those lap times. Because remember, it's not going to be a full-on door-to-door bumper-to-bumper race for the entirety of the 12 hours. This is what the 12 hours is about. It's the endurance. It's the getting the head down, just cracking in the laps and just seeing what you can do coming up to that final, as Alex said, that final 90 minutes, that final hour. It's so important to set yourself up in the best possible position that you can, and that's what a lot of these drivers are doing. And Callum Cripps is now within 12 seconds of Camsport. And who have we got behind the wheel for Camsport at the minute?
That is, I think, I'm just trying to keep an eye on who's there. Let me just have a quick check. No, Ben Brown's not behind the wheel. He's I've seen him walking around the place. Camsport looks to be Christian Kelly again, so... and he is he started things out, and obviously he was the one that had the throttle pedal issue earlier on. Or no, that could still be. Yeah, that is. I think no, that's Chris Wilson behind the wheel, and Charlie Crossan very focused behind the wheel of Pod 1.
Yeah, YouTube was worried because we hadn't heard from Chris for quite a while, which probably meant that was a good thing, that he was out of trouble. So confirmed Chris is out of trouble, and that's why we've not really heard from him just now. But this is Camsport then, 70 seconds behind your race leader of Fordzilla. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 2. Who is that for? We'll find out in a second. I think that was for Barracuda, because they're dropping down a lot of time right now. They get going again. but I think that was Barracuda that came a cropper in Sector 2 there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is that, as you said, things have sort of gotten to a steadier rhythm now that they've gone past the first third of the race, and now it's all about just keeping things calm. You know, not expending too much energy. As Callum Cripps again sideways through turn 10, he's definitely putting it on the line. And I've even seen, just from where I'm actually standing on the corner of, well, I'm a little bit further away from the podium now, but I can just see how concentrated Callum Cripps is, and it's very interesting to see the different approaches with driver styles. I mean, some drivers, you know, when you see that they're very relaxed behind the wheel, you can actually see that they're calmer, composed. Callum doesn't even look like he's breaking a sweat anyway, because he's a lot fitter than me. That's why I talk about racing, not drive.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat as well. But I do drive, I'm just not very good at it.
Yes.
I'm just very slow. But by the by, I mean, going back to Radicals Online, Callum Cripps has brought that gap down to 9 seconds to Camsport. This is for second place. Granted, the Radicals driver is going to have to pit very, very soon, but I mean, this pace from Callum Cripps is unrelenting.
I mean, looking at the sector time, the delta times between the two, he was best part of nearly half a second up in sector 1, nearly 6 tenths up in sector 2, and a further 4 tenths up. So looking at it from that perspective, that's nearly 1.5 seconds in that previous lap, and now the gap is down to, what is it, effectively, that is 9.1 seconds.
Crazy stuff right now, and that Radicals car really just, I mean, there's nothing more that driver can give to that car right now. I mean, the gap's now down to 7 seconds. This is absurd, to say the least. Absolutely absurd, and I've never seen a car get hung out to dry like that, Alex, and I mean, it's so fast around these corners.
Right, gap now down, David. It's gone down, and it is getting closer and closer, 6.5 seconds. So it's getting closer, and Camsport are trying to get past Cadan Casual Apex. So that's not going to be helping them any iota whatsoever. And now they've got to try and get the move done quickly. Chris Wilson's got to be on the hurry up through turn number 16, right behind Cadan Casual Apex. But with the slipstream, the tow, it will be able to assist Chris Wilson in pod 5. But at the moment, he's going to have to wait until the back straight. Now, this is going to allow Callum Cripps to close up. Gap is now 6.3 seconds between the pair as Chris Wilson makes his way. Oh, he has to get out. Oh, he has to hold on to the anchors big time going into turn 3. Nearly could have ended up in the back bumper of Cadan Casual Apex. And that is costing them time, 6.1 seconds. And to be honest with you, Chris Wilson's got to get past there quickly, and he's trying to get alongside. Late breaks into turn 4. Is he going to nail it through the apex? Oh, they nearly have a bit of a rub there through turn 4, and it's side by side down this little back straightaway and through into the left-hander. Cadan Casual Apex still in front, but David, the biggest thing is that gap has been truncated because of what Chris Wilson is trying to do, and he's trying to get past Cadan Casual Apex. Daniel Hyde behind the wheel.
Yeah, 5.5 seconds left to go. I think Race Control are going to be watching this battle very, very carefully because, of course, Cadan Casual 2 laps down on that second place car, and this is a battle that doesn't need to happen. 5 seconds now is the gap between Camsport and Radicals Online. Radicals Online on a very different strategy. They will have to pit first. They will have to blink first, but ultimately, this is where the race pace is at. This is where the chips could ultimately fall. And wow, this is awesome stuff here. Let's have a watch here as the Radicals Online. I just don't understand how Callum is able to get so much out of that car right now.
Oh, it's getting a nip and tuck. Sorry to cut across you there, David, because the funny thing is at the moment, a little bit further back, it's really playing into the hands of Radicals Online. The gap now down is 5.3.
This is starting to get absolute craziness now. It really, really is. And as you see here from the viewpoint we're watching Radicals Online, Callum Cripps, the gap now, 4.5 seconds between the two of them here, and it's getting even closer. Alex, obviously we're watching the Radicals Online, so you'll have to keep us updated on whether Camsport can get past Gdansk Casual Apex, but I mean...
They have now.
Oh, they have now, yeah.
So.
Blue flags surely have to come into it.
Sebastian Vettel, anyone?
Blue flag!
Max Verstappen, anyone? Blue flag, blue flag.
You gotta love
that
it.
old chestnut, eh?
Yeah. Well, this gap is now coming down even further. 3.3 seconds now between these two, and I'm gonna need an inhaler by the end of this one, because this is gonna absolutely take my breath away. 7:47 left to go in the race, and this is scintillating action. Just every single lap from Radicals Online. Callum Cripps has been on it, and to answer Matt Goodyear, Scott, I don't believe you are behind us. We're currently watching the Radicals Online car. Alex, of course, in the actual Simply race, can see multiple different angles, so he was giving us a call on the Camsport affair.
Yeah, well, I've just seen, coming down the back straightaway, turns 3 and 4, I've just seen Radicals in the same camera shot as Camsport. The gap now, David, has come down. It's about 3 seconds.
It's even less than that, my friend. It's 2.5 seconds now. Make that 2.5 seconds between these two cars. This is thrilling stuff. And I've got to be honest, I think it's all down to Callum and the way that he's able to drive that car to drift it round the corners here. It's a widely known fact that it's one of the characteristics of R Factor 2 is that it's actually faster to almost drift the cars round the corners, but in all intents and purposes it's a championship based on R Factor 2, so you just have to you drive to the platform that you're on just now. But Callum Cripps making no mean feat about this effort just now. They were last, they were stone dead last, and to come back and be challenging, albeit in a mixed up strategy, but challenging for second place, this is a heroic drive right now.
Right, get this, David. Last lap, Callum Cripps, nearly 7 tenths faster in Sector 1, nearly over 9.5 tenths in Sector 2, and half a second. That is 2.1 seconds that Callum Cripps has just taken out of Chris Wilson, and they are heading their way down the back straightaway. This is getting close. Gap now down to 1.1 and closing.
And the thing is that obviously, as we said, Callum Cripps is going to have to blink first in that Radicals Online machine. He's going to have to come into pits before. But as we saw from Barracuda, that could just be one spin. That could be one, accident. That could be one moment into the wall for Camsport, and they lose that position permanently. So Radicals Online, with all of the cards in hand, and I'll say something else as well. If they keep this pace up and they can get cleared of Camsport, I don't know if a battle for the race lead is out of the question with 7 3/4 hours left to go.
Yeah, flip a coin. Is it heads or is it tails? That's the question we have to give to the audience watching at the moment, and a big thank you to everyone that's tuned in so far. So, but yeah, it's getting a bit closer. But like you say, with regards to Radicals Online, the way that Callum Cripps is now, he's coming to the pit, so we have been denied the battle there, David.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think he's definitely made
now.
I think he's made his mark and he's proved his point. How do the lap times of Radicals compare to Fordzilla?
Pretty comparable, within 2 tenths of a second of each other, at the way that Callum Cripps was just pushing with Charlie Crossland behind the wheel for Team Fordzilla.
So you've got to say then, because when he comes out of this pit stop, so essentially the Callum Cripps in Radicals is the earlier stopper. So it's not like it's an extra pit stop; it's just an early pit stop for the Radicals. And with the way this race goes, that could actually come to benefit them. But realistically, 77 seconds over the course of 7 3/4 hours, Alex, that's not a comfortable gap.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of like, I mean, there's a lot of data coming onto other factors within this. You know, our facts are very, very dynamic in the terms of the data that you can actually have on the middle of the triple monitor setups in each of these respective pods. So Callum Cripps just exiting pit lane and has got quite a bit of fuel on board, so he's brimmed the tank. And then I can see sort of like front and rear tyres, what position the rear wing is in, also you know, respective tyre pressures as well. So there's a lot of data that these drivers can keep their eye on within their 2020 peripheral vision and still be as flat out as they can in this race.
Yeah, for sure. Radicals Online out of the pits then. It was a 1:04 pit stop for them. That was a good pit stop to get that done. Fordzilla still in the lead though, and honestly, I mean, Camsport don't seem to have the pace right now to challenge them. Do you think they're comfortable out there in the lead, Alex?
I think because they're in the lead, that gives them an opportunity just to sort of review what they've done so far, look at the strategy of what they might need to do over the next 2 to 3 hours, who's going to be next in the vehicle, how long are they going to be out for, are the tyres going to be double stinted, are they going to go for a slightly less amount of fuel in the car just to keep that lap time at a premium. There's so many different strategy calls that you can put into play here, David.
Yeah, there really is. And I mean, what the individual drivers as well play such a huge part in this. We've seen Callum Cripps be instrumental in bringing that Radicals Online to the forefront of the podium fight just now, and done a cracking job. But you know, not to take away from Fordzilla, they had to fight for it as well. They were down in third place for the majority of the early part of the race, and then kept things going. So yeah, awesome stuff. And it'd be fantastic if we could hear from one of the Fordzilla guys. So I'm sure
well, funny enough,
there we go.
Funny enough, I'm just about to strategically, that was next on my hit list, my friend.
Well, that was. I saw the message on the channel, and I was trying to just segue that one in. You see, I'm just. It's all good. It's all good. So we'll hear back from Alex.
Great minds think alike. I'll be back in a minute.
Even better ones use WhatsApp.
There you go.
Thank you very much for Alex. So he's going to nip off and try and secure us a little interview with one of the Team Fordzilla drivers. But I mean, 7:40 left to go in the race. Then we're rapidly coming up to the halfway mark. Just an hour and 40 left to go to do that. And it is, as we said, Fordzilla 80 seconds ahead of the Radical Online outfit. Callum Cripps, if he's back behind the wheel already, has taken about 3 seconds out of Camsport in second place. Barracuda down in fourth place there. Avante Racing in fifth. It's Kerrang Casual Apex in sixth, and then E-Team Brit in seventh place, with Lamati Racing in eighth position right now. So that is how the cars are stacked up at the moment for Simpler Race Endurance Season Race 1 of Season 4 here from the virtual Buddh International Circuit for 12 hours. 12 hours it's going to be myself, Dave Christie, and Alex Goldschmidt taking you through all of the action this afternoon. Just watching Barracuda here. I think that might be E-Team Brit just on the tail end of this. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to shut up for a minute just so you can hear these wonderful DPI cars down the back straight. Oh, they sound absolutely magnificent. They really do. This is, of course, Barracuda's number 9 outfit. Just now, I'm just trying to see who's behind the wheel of that. I believe it might be Callum Dent. I've not had that updated for a while, but we'll get an ID on that one very, very shortly. We're going a little bit wide out of the corner here. Thank you very much to everyone that has decided to join us on YouTube this afternoon. We are, as I said, taking you all the way through all of the action here. What you'll see in about 20 minutes time, you're going to see Fordzilla, Camsport and Barracuda into the pits very, very shortly. So we'll keep our eye out for that.
Yeah, just to let you know that we have got an interview with Jack Ashton from Team Fordzilla lined up. But yeah, very interesting how the dynamic of the race has played out over the last 4 and a bit hours, David. I mean, I'm really intrigued how the strategy call is going to play out. I mean, the way that Callum Cripps has just been absolutely... I'm going to use the term I said I wouldn't use earlier on. Now, you said ragged. I then went abused. Well, it looks like he's absolutely using that to complete violation, that Cadillac DPI. I mean, it's the thing is that it's a really good car. It's very aggressive, as we talked about earlier on. And just the way that the aero really plays into the hands, and especially with the toe coming down the back straight away through turns 3 and 4, really does showcase. I mean, they're pushing close to 300 kph going down the back straight. Even in and with the toe, you could probably be just slightly north of that. So that's about 183 miles an hour in miles per hour conversion rates. But it just really goes to show that when you're in that slipstream, it really, really does pay to be in the toe.
Yeah, it really, really does, and so important to see that happening. But I've got to be honest, Alex, I'm absolutely blown away by that Radicals Online number 7 machine. Back out of pit lane, and that was 64 seconds behind Camsport. That's now down to 56 seconds, and that's about 4 laps that have been put in. So Camsport really struggling here. They've lost about 5 seconds on the leader, so I wonder if this is coming to the end of their tyres and the end of their stint as well.
Yeah, very, very true indeed. So yeah, it's just about how things really do work on out. Yeah, so it's going to be quite interesting. I mean, with the fact that the track has really evolved over the course of the last 4 hours and close to 25 minutes of this race, and well, we're about to now jump into another interview because alongside me. A local lad to these parts, a very long-term visitor here at Simply Race, but also now part of Team Fordzilla. Jack Ashton joins me. Jack, it's been a really, really good, solid performance from yourself, Sean, and Charlie at Team Fordzilla. Now, we were just having a brief chat that you've been trying to coax Fordzilla, and you've got them hook, line, and sinker to enter a team into the Simply Race Endurance Series. How much does that mean to you personally?
Oh, I love it because I've been racing at Simply Race for years, well, since they first opened many moons ago. And doing the endurance series, the whole environment, everyone around, the enjoyment in the racing has been fantastic. And the level of competition has just stepped up massively over the years. And then with Radicals taking the front seat last season, it was just one of them things I had to get Fordzilla involved and take them off of their pedestal and take that victory. This is what we're trying to do today, so let's see what we can do.
Now, obviously, that would mean that is a full season campaign for all 5 rounds of the championship, so that would be really good to have you guys with us. But Ford really have put a lot of emphasis into becoming the first truly fully fledged backed factory sim racing team. When you got the call from Fordzilla to become a part of that, what were your first reactions? Because it's like a dream, isn't it, for any sim racer worth their salt, saying, you know what, this is an opportunity for me that I can't really turn down.
Yeah, it was once in a lifetime thing, really. It was kind of lucky as well how I did it. They held a competition in London, fastest lap time wins an entry. I went there and it was Gran Turismo, never used the game, didn't have a clue what I was doing. Just winged it, and I had a couple of attempts at it, and I was within less than a tenth away from getting the thing, and I was the winning thing. So I gutted, walked away a bit like, what could have been? But they took my details. I thought, nothing's going to come of it. Next thing you know, would you like to become part of the team? fantastic. Like, I really didn't believe it would happen. And then, yeah, pushed hard from there, and here we are now. I mean, the team is growing and growing. It's still in its early days, even though it's been a team now for over a year. It's still early days for the team. A lot of growth to come. It just keeps going and going. The thing is, because Ford as a team is trying to use every platform, it's so hard to get the volume of drivers to be competitive as well and keep their eyes on all the drivers in the team. But now I feel like the teams are getting really competitive, and we're throwing some good competition down for a lot of the pro teams now. So yeah, it's looking hopeful for the future, and with the backing we have with Ford, it's only going to get better, hopefully. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I remember the fact you mentioned about that competition in London. Charlie Croston went to it. Cami Sturch, who's no longer with the team, she joined as well based on that as well. So it just goes to show that with the outside of the box thinking from Team Fordzilla to do that, and obviously, they've got there's a whole Team Fordzilla army: Spain, France, Germany. I know that Team Fordzilla predominantly is based out of Cologne, which is really, really good to see. So the European connections there for the entire team is really, really good. There's drivers in the US. So from a global manufacturer standpoint, when you they finally bit the bullet and said yes to the Simply Race Endurance Series, first of all, for you, that's great, because you've raced on R Factor 2, having come here for so many years. To now be one of those teams with two great drivers. You've got Sean, who we have seen on Assetto Corsa Competizione as well, along with other platforms. Charlie, known on Assetto Corsa Competizione, very rapid, but he's making an adaptation to R Factor 2. He's tried to do that before, it didn't quite work out, but he's come back for a second bite of the cake, so to speak. How have the pair adapted along with that, coming into the Simply Race Endurance Series?
I mean, first of all, they did their practice at home. Obviously, you can't come here without any practice. Especially the car and track combo being very difficult, and new track for, I think, most people, not even driven it, myself included. They come in doing some practice at home, feeling quite confident. But the difference between rigs and obviously the setup that Simply Race are running here today is slightly different. It was quite a shell shock for them when they first started doing practice this morning, and they were really nervous at the start. We got our head down, did our thing, kept out of trouble at the start. Now we're pushing hard, and lap times are really coming in, showing our pace now. So yeah, it's looking good.
I think qualifying was a pretty exciting affair. You know, the 20-minute session, you guys were at the front of the field very early on, but then Radicals came through, Cam Sport, Avanti, and I think at one point the top three were covered by 15,000s. That just shows how quick these cars are. But the DPI, it's a very, very new car to the R Factor 2 platform. It's very aero dependent. It's a 5.5 litre, 580 brake horsepower Daytona prototype, and it's basically a single seater with a big Daytona prototype body on it. But the handling characteristics of a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car, how is it handling around this circuit? Because like seeing some of the sector times, especially from Charlie, who's behind the wheel at the moment, have been absolutely monumental. I've seen like performance gains of at least 1 to 1.2 seconds through sector 2. I mean, that's incredible.
I mean, yeah, the nature of the car is very rotational. It's very dancey. The curbs, it doesn't really like it very much. So you want to use the curbs as much as possible to maximise the track, but then it's very dancey and slidey, but also very enjoyable. So it's like if it was understeery, no one likes an understeery car really. They prefer that little bit of dance around. Obviously, it's a bit tricky in an endurance, but that's what you got to cope with. Everyone's in the same boat. It's not like there's any different setups. That's what I like about this series as well. Fixed setup, everyone's in the same boat. You just drive it hard, and yeah, I mean, the setup I think really good. Really, once you got used to it, that's the hardest thing. Getting used to it, you're good. The track is providing some really good entertainment as well, like that sector 2, like you say. And through that mid sector, it's just so tricky getting the line right, using the right amount of curve without the car sliding around too much, keeping it balanced, getting that throttle on nice and harsh. Yeah, I mean the whole this for round 1, I think it's probably going to be one of the best rounds of this season, to be honest with you. Even though I'm looking forward to a lot of the other races, this track and car combo is just proved really good.
Now I have to ask a question. Now, being it's a manufacturer that is a direct automotive competitor to Ford Motor Company, Cadillac of course, part of GM, one of the big three over in the United States. I'm really looking forward to seeing what choices you guys make for GTE, because that's going to be rather interesting. But looking at it from this perspective, we know with any championship it is more a case of, yes, it's a full-on sprint for 12 hours. We all know that. The minute that you get behind the wheel, you're like thinking, right, blinkers on, here we go. And we've seen that all the way through the race so far. The fact that we've got 2 6-hour races, 2 12-hour races, and then of all the circuits we finish with, Spa-Francorchamps in June of next year, twice around the clock, top 7 in the championship will go into the DPI. That's a mouth-watering prospect, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to Spa. I haven't really looked at the GT cars at all and what I want to choose, but hopefully we won't be in a GT car at the final at Spa, but I'm sure we'll try and push to get the DPI in the final. But yeah, GT cars, not even thought about. I don't even know what the choices are.
Well, I think Charlie will be able to tell you. There's an EcoBoost powered Radical, which is normally in GT3, but you'll have, like, say, the BMW. You'll have, like, say, the BMW M8. The Aston Martin GTE, amongst others. So there'll be a few choices, but obviously it'll be a case, I think, of probably what will fit all 3 drivers, because one of the biggest things that everyone has to understand with a team championship, where you're all sharing the same pod, you're all working in harmony. Mistakes do get made in championships, we'll be completely honest about that one, whether it's on track or a strategy call, or if you're having to adapt from a mistake that somebody else has made. It really adds a bit of character to the championship, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I really wouldn't know what to choose car-wise, but with what we have behind us, Ford there will be coaxing us to that Radical. It's not the favourable choice for sure. That's our only downfall. But if the bop's kind enough, it might work. We'll see. We'll see how it drives, and we'll give some hints to Ford. Can we just please use something else? But we don't know. Well, if it works, it works. We'll go for it. But I'm looking forward to it. But we'll cross that bridge when you come to it. Today,
a little bit of constructive feedback there. But Jack Ashton from Team Fordzilla, local lad here in Milton Keynes. Jack, all the very best of luck to you and Charlie and Sean for the rest of the race.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
David, back to you.
Thanks very much. Brilliant to hear from Jack Ashton there, and you haven't really missed anything on the action at all. Fordzilla still out in the lead just now, and Camsport still in that second place then. With Radicals online, I cannot find the words to explain what is going on with that car right now. The pace that they've got in that number 7 car is absolutely ridiculous. Barracuda in 4th position with that number 9 machine, and then it's Avanti Racing in 5th position. Cadet Casual Apex in 6th position. Lamati somehow managing to get back up into 7th position, and then E-Team Brit down in 8th position just now. So that's how it stands then, as we are about 7 hours and 25 minutes left to go into the race. Fordzilla, Camsport and Barracuda due to pit very, very shortly, and then they will come out, I would say, very, very close. In fact, Radicals online, I think, might be quite close to Fordzilla here, so we'll have to see how this one starts to pan out here. But I mean, an awesome race. In fact, right on cue, Fordzilla into the pits. Now, what this is going to do is this is going to bring the gap to Camsport themselves to within about, I would say, maybe 20 seconds. But when Camsport pit, Camsport are briefly, I believe, going to get relegated into 3rd place, so that'll be quite the turn up for the books. So just watching Camsport now making their way round, and Fordzilla still in the pits. 1:04, 1 minute 4 is about the normal time for a pit stop. There's Camsport, a huge flick, Scandinavian flick around the corner there, and that gap coming down massively. Although Radicals online did start, it was about 64 seconds that they were behind Camsport. It's now 44 seconds. It's a 1:06.5 for Fordzilla, so that gap is actually 28 seconds. So it does come down, but not as much as I originally thought it was going to. So just keeping an eye on this. But very warm welcome to everyone that is still watching the stream. Simple Racing Endurance Series Season 4, Round 1 here from 12 Hours of Buddh International Circuit in India. It's David Christie along with Alex Goldschmidt bringing you live coverage of all of the action. Alex has just popped out for a little bit of a break just now. He'll be back in just a couple of minutes time. But yeah, a very, very busy sim racing weekend. Of course, we've got the iRacing doing the Bathurst 1000. We've got the ADAC Sim Racing Expo happening in real life over in Germany. And arguably, more importantly, we've got the first round underway just now. So fantastic to have you all along with us for that. And quite honestly, I've got no idea what's going to happen in these final 7 hours and 20 minutes of the race. Still currently watching Cam Sport here making their way round the track, 42 seconds ahead of Radicals Online. Callum Cripps in that Radicals machine just holding on to the accelerator with everything that he's got, and yeah, fantastic to see. Barracuda then next to Blake there into the pits just now, and I do believe that Camsport will be in the pit in the next 2 to 3 laps. If that, they may actually choose to get into the pits at the end of this one. Certainly the character of the car would suggest that. Still back with Lamati Racing then, and they're trying to make the best of a bad situation. It's been a very, very difficult day out at the races for them, and trying to recover, as we say. And indeed, Cam Sport into the pits on this one, and let's see how that all comes about, because again, that'll be a minute for them. So Radicals are on the verge of getting past them just now, and I think Radicals are going to get past them on the pit straight. So again, this is going to be a different strategy, but if Radicals Online can keep pushing this pace round, it'll be a very, very interesting final 7 hours of the race that we've got in store. So what we're going to do then, with 7 hours and 20 minutes left to go, as we see E-Team Brit, we're not going to pause for a second. We're going to catch on the E-Team Brit car there that we saw going very, very wide there. What we will do is we're going to have a very quick break, and we'll be back after these messages. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We promise it's not all went dark here at Milton Keynes. We are back to the action here at Simply Race for the Simply Race Endurance Series. And I can hear chuckling in the background, which sounded awful like Alex Goldschmidt. Hello,
it
sir.
It was a bit of me and a bit of Mike Yao combined there, mate. So, yes, all's well and good here in Milton Keynes. 7 hours, 17 minutes left to go, and Team Forza now have Sean Arnold behind the wheel. Really good to catch up with Jack Ashton, and good to hear the story about them trying to get a team in for the Simply Race Endurance Series. I mean, it's good to see Jack here. He's been visiting Milton Keynes, well, he's local to the area, visited Simply Race on a multiple of occasions, and really good to see them with us. Yeah, I mean, things are really sort of getting into their stride a little bit here, with us being about an hour and a quarter away from the halfway point of the race.
Yeah, crazy to think that. The other crazy thing, Alex, is have a look at that timing screen and tell me who that is in second place. And do not rub your eyes, because that is actually real.
Don't worry, I didn't do a deja vu like in The Matrix and see a black cat twice. No, I did not do a double take there. Yes, Radicals Online up into P2 and are 1 minute and 11 seconds behind. And yeah, pretty good showing from the number 7, the 2019 champions of the Simply Race Endurance Series. So they've, now Callum Cripps said, yeah, maybe a podium's on the cards. I think they're gunning for the victory.
Yeah, I think that is definitely what they are going to be gunning for. Fantastic to see, though, action-packed all the way through, though, Alex. And we cut to a replay here. This is of E-Team Brett. We caught this at the tail end just before we went to the break. Way too hot at the corner, and it's around and around and around the corner, Alex.
Max Spooner is currently behind the wheel of that car at the minute.
No, you're kidding me.
I know visual confirmation when I walk past pod 15. Max Spooner has taken his first stint behind the wheel for the E-Team Brit crew.
I was waiting to start singing, but I better not. So yeah, that's unfortunate. But look, it is what it is. They keep going, and obviously we can jest and have a bit of fun with Max, because we actually, like me and you, work behind the scenes with him on the E-Team Brit Championship. So you know we're good friends, but. It's, I mean, obviously the big thing for E-Team Brit is what an inspirational story that team is that it really proven, and it goes back to that whole thing about that the rainbow logos on all of the equipment at Simply Race, and showing solidarity and support with Pride, inclusivity and equality really are at the forefront of E-Team Brit, making sure that, you know, even if you have got a disability, that you can still be at the forefront of taking part in sim racing.
Very much the case. I mean, it was really good to catch up with James Lambert, and you know, he says that he has a routine, obviously with the joint condition that he has, to really be able to push the limits of what he's able to do and push beyond those limits. And you know, for him to take the opening 2 stints, I mean, kudos to the man for doing so.
Yeah, awesome stuff. This is still watching then. Radicals Online at the moment, they are dropping a little bit back now. The gap was 71 seconds, now 74 seconds. So I don't know if they're going to be able to make any big indents, as we've got a yellow flag in Sector 3. We'll get an idea on who that is. I think that might be Avanti Racing, who are dropping quite a lot of time there. In fact, it almost certainly is the number 11 car, I would imagine, on that one. They get back and get going again, but the car's looking a little bit twitchy, Alex. In fact, are they into... No, they're not into pit lane. So they keep going, but... again, it just shows how difficult these endurance races are.
Yeah, because I mean, as I mentioned earlier on, you know, concentration is very much a key. You've got to effectively have your eyeballs on stalks, David, and it's never easy. You know, some drivers will have tried to push the limits of human endurance, and sometimes when you go beyond that limit, you sometimes find it out the hard way a little bit. And yeah, just sort of having a look back, I think we might have a replay very, very shortly as we go to it now. Now, this is Avanti coming through onto the grass, back end steps out to the left, and it pirouettes nicely through the very next right-hander. and they managed to stop it in time before it goes backwards into the barriers. Now, we saw with Lamasi Racing earlier on, they lost their rear wing.
Yeah, again with Lamati, the problem that they had was trying to keep the car in one shape after they had that initial incident. Avanti don't have that issue because obviously they've still got the car in one piece. But again, this is the issue: is that you think, oh, it's a 12-hour endurance race. You're just going round for 12 hours. How boring! It's like, well, for the most part, the main enemy isn't the other 8 cars on track, isn't the other 7 cars on track, Alex. It's yourself. It's keeping that composure, keeping that focus, and keeping that attention span for the 4 hours that you're in the car.
Yeah, I mean, they'll have a strategy on how long you're going to be in the car for, when your next stint is. Are you going to be on fresh boots? How much fuel is going to be put into the vehicle? There's so many different things that these strategy calls have to put into consideration over the course of the 12-hour race, and you leave one stone unturned, and unfortunately, you might become a bit unstuck.
Yeah, for sure. As we head towards 7 hours left to go in the race, it's difficult to believe we've already done nearly 5 hours of this race, as we see Camsport just throwing that car to where it really shouldn't be going, but did a cracking job of holding on. I tell you what, Radicals, is that Callum Cripps that's still behind the wheel of that car, or have they swapped driver?
I'm not too sure, but because I'm in the back office at the moment, I mean, I've been standing up for quite a bit, and obviously the old feet need a little bit of a respite, but when I get a chance, I will venture out.
We're at opposite ends of the spectrum there, Alex, because I'm been sitting down for the entirety and now having to stand up for a little bit because need to get the old circulation going again there. But the point I was trying to make is that Radicals Online, I mean, they really aren't losing out too much speed to Fordzilla. They're still in contention, but I mean, I don't know what they can do to take a big chunk, because Fordzilla basically have to have an accident. They have to have an incident to bring themselves back into contention. With 7 hours, 10 minutes left to go, you wouldn't put that outside the realms of possibility, but it's been a fairly steady and solid drive from Fordzilla.
It has been, and the composure that these drivers, it's very, very quiet at Pod 1. But the good thing is, they're sharing bits of information. The driver is being allowed to carry on with the work that they're doing, undisrupted, so to speak. And when I walked past, before I had to quickly shoot off for a quick breather, was that, Charlie Crossan was on low fuel. Sean Arnold had his gloves ready on and ready to jump into the seat. And then that's why you got a message from me rather quickly to say, Sean Arnold's in the car.
Yeah, for sure. And we appreciate all the intel we get behind the scenes here. So thank you very much, Alex, for that one. Still watching Camsport, though, just now. At the moment, 26 seconds behind Radicals Online. The number 7 car currently in second place, but remember, again, off strategy at the moment. Barracuda are certainly out of that podium spot at the moment, regardless of strategy, because of that earlier issue that they faced. So they are down in 4th place just now, but still, importantly, I believe they may still be on the lead lap. In fact, no, they're almost definitely not on the lead lap. Because of the pace that they are at just now. So really, I mean, it's 3 cars that are still on the lead lap, and as soon as Radicals Online go back into the pits, I think they are in danger of going a lap down.
Yes and no. I mean,
I'm talking rubbish, actually. I'm talking complete rubbish. Just ignore everything I said for the past 5 minutes. I remembered about the lap times. I'm thinking about pit stop times rather than actual lap times. Lap times are about the 140, whereas pit stop times are about the 104s.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that if when Radicals Online pit, we've seen it as it's been anywhere between 43 to 46 seconds at a push. To bring the tank, put a new set of tyres. I mean, Chris Wilson, very, very matter of fact, earlier on in the broadcast when I had a chat with him, that they were attempting to double stint the tyres. They found that it hasn't worked, and so the good thing is that with this championship, looking from the bigger picture, is we're about 8 minutes away from hitting the end of hour number 5, so we'll be in the penultimate hour of the first half of the race, as it looks like Lamati Racing have just entered into the pit lane. So that could give an opportunity for, I'm just having a look at, well, E-Team Brit are showing, according to the timing on the screens at the moment, about 50 seconds behind, but that is dropping as now Lamati are in the pits. They're into the first 10 seconds of said rudimentary and normal strategy in terms of the pit stop itself. But looking at it from this perspective, David, pit stop including a trip down the pit lane and the entry and exit could be at the point where maybe Radicals Online, when they do pit, that will put them behind Camsport, but it might be a bit close between them and Barracuda if the number 9 is going to be closing in on them towards the end of the strategic rudimentary pit stop for Radicals Online.
Yeah, and again, it comes back to that whole point, doesn't it? That there's so many variables really that are on show that could affect the outcome of this race. But to finish first, as we see Lamati Racing coming out the pits there, just behind E-Team Brit. So this is a battle for position then, and it's actually great to see E-Team Brit and Lamati fighting it out here. I think E-Team Brit are going to lose out on this, but yeah, great to see a little scrap of, a little scrap happening with just over 7 hours left to go in the race, Alex.
Well, the thing is that E-Team Brit, they'll be on warmer tyres, so Lamati are on cold tyres, and we'll have to compensate for that in the initial maybe 2 to 3 laps of this opening part of the stint. But looking at the way things are, Lamati Racing trying to keep towards one side of E-Team Brit as they go through into the next double left here at the Buddh International Circuit. They're making their way, that would have been through turns 8 and 9. Now they're going to go through into 9 now, and then they're going to go very shortly through into turns 10 and 11. A bit of a very run wide there from Lamati Racing going through into turn 9 and tight on the apex through turn 10, allow the car to drift out wide. In some respects, it has a little bit of the final corner at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza there, doesn't it? A bit of the allowing the car to drift out of the corner, going wide, and then turn it back in and try and nail the apex in the Parabolica at Monza.
Yeah, I think the great thing about the circuit, Alex, and we've mentioned this very briefly before, is the fact that it invokes a lot of memories from other circuits. It feels like it takes the best parts or some very memorable parts from circuits all across the world, and it really just puts them together in one big mega mix of a circuit here. Like this part here, the right-hander, the run down through the left-hander, reminds me a little bit of the Nürburgring GP circuit, and then you go over to this long straight, and again this reminds me, as I said, about the Dottinger from the Nordschleife, that long back straight, and especially when you get the other camera angle, I think it's the elevation changes on that straight, it just makes it look that little bit like it. Of course, for a lot of people it won't look anything like it whatsoever, but then into turn 4 here, I mean, it's just such a fantastic circuit. Radicals are into the pits there, and I'm having a look. They could come out just ahead of Barracuda, but I think they should be quite safe.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, they're into the first 10 seconds of their pit stop, so Camsport are going to get past right about now as we speak, so the change has happened. And if they get out with 43 or so seconds, E-Team Brit goes wide, coming out of into turn 12 there, as we've got a rear spoiler shot. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, but I think that Radicals will get out in front of Barracuda.
Yeah, I think it should be quite comfortable. I think I've massively overestimate the time. It's 1:04 that they'll come out, so that'll be out with about 33 seconds left to go. Yeah, Radicals out pit lane, and 31 seconds maybe at a push is going to be the gap over them. But Radicals Online, I mean, the pace that the time that they've taken out of Camsport ahead, right? Camsport were 64 seconds ahead of Radicals Online. That gap now down to 37 seconds, and that now means that almost certainly as soon as Camsport are back into the pits, they will have lost that position as well. But Lamati are all over the back of 18 Brit right now, and again, this is for position. And again, both of these cars affected by, well, in the case of Lamati, multiple issues early on in the race, and they've kind of knuckled down and got their head back into the game here. But these two they're kind of in their own race right now, aren't they?
They are indeed, and as you said a few moments ago, David, it's really nice to see that. There's going to be peaks and troughs during this race. We all know that, and having a little bit of a battle adds a little bit of interest for not just us here on commentary, but also for those watching at home in the meantime. And a big thank you once again for everyone joining us. So realistically, the way things are going, it's not stagnated, I will say that much. It's just gotten to a comfortable rhythm where drivers are in the zone, just trying to figure their way around the circuit. I mean, like for instance, Max Spooner, first actual stint during the race, so it's now giving him a real understanding. The other drivers such as Michael Tyler, Hamish Easner and James Lambert will have given feedback to Max and say, right, okay, just watch out for this particular corner and go this way through the corner on this particular apex or exit point where you've got to really know when to put down the throttle and then hit the brakes at the right time. It's just about consistency and flow, and especially when you're having to, as Jack Ashton said earlier on, it's a fixed setup, so you are having to work with the car rather than against it, but you are very limited in what you can do.
And that is a brilliant point, actually, because a lot of the faster drivers will tell you that it is about working with what the car can't do instead of trying to push it past what it can't do, which is where you're going to get all of the time and all of the speed. More importantly, all of the pace as well. It's a cracking shot from the left-hand side of Lamati Racing. The left-hand door there, you can just get a little peek inside to the driver and the steering wheel behind these DPI, these Cadillac DPI machines. I said earlier, I think you were off on a break, Alex, but the sound from these cars is iconic and just wonderful to listen to.
Very much reminds me, the back end reminds me of the Audi R18 e-tron Quattro, when Audi was absolutely dominant in that sort of initial phase of when hybrid propulsion was introduced in the World Endurance Championship, and it sort of gives us a bit of a trip back down memory lane as we now have hit 7 hours completed, and Team Ford Zero at the moment, I'm looking at this, Camsport are about 0.6 of a second a lap slower at the moment in terms of pure stint pace at the moment, but obviously you've got to factor in how much fuel has Fordzilla got, as E-Team Brit have just gone a little bit wide again, and that could allow Lamati Racing just to close up once again, and that was very close there. That was coming through turn 3. They have got a car just behind them. That looks to be Avanti Racing in the number 11, and it's side by side between E-Team Brit and Lamati have just edged ahead down the straightaway, and E-Team Brit back in the tow, heading down into turn 4. It's going to be the last of the late breakers here, as E-Team Brit absolutely sends it up the inside, but Lamati Racing keeps it pinned to the outside and still retains the position.
Awesome stuff there, and a great move done. It's such intelligent driving from Lamati there. What they did is they spent 2, 3, 4 laps behind E-Team Brit and actually figuring out what their modus operandi were. And what they were is looking for a gap, looking for where they're vulnerable, looking for where they get a slow exit out of so that they can pounce, and really, really clever driving to get that done. So that move was set up laps in advance there, but Lamati taking that 7th position just now. It's certainly not all over yet, but E-Team Brit now looking that they're going to get a lap put on them, and I think that may have been Avanti Racing that gets that move up the inside done, so that's another lap put on them. So up at the front then, Fordzilla still out in front by 101 seconds from Camsport Racing. Radicals Online in 3rd position, Barracuda in 4th, Avanti Racing in 5th, 6th place for Cadan Casual Apex Racing, and 7th place for Lamati, and then E-Team Brit at the back of the fields in 8th position.
Yeah, it was all very, very sideways there from Sean Arnold from Team Fordzilla. They're absolutely hurtling that vehicle through. That looks to be through turns 8 and 9 before the approach into turn 10, but manages to gather it back all together. And looking at it from this perspective, Fordzilla were about a tenth slower than Camsport through sector number 2. So those slight unforced errors starting to creep in there, David.
What I want to know is how do the times of Fordzilla compare to Radicals Online in 3rd place?
8 tenths of a second at the moment as things stand, just over 8 tenths of a second based on the previous lap. A 1 minute 40.625 for Radicals Online, a 141.102. So Sean Ardle improves on that lap. So that's about close to half a second between the pair of them in terms of pure lap pace.
Absolute craziness to think that we're still in this position with just under 7 hours left to go in the race. The big story from earlier on is obviously Radicals Online having that moment about 15 minutes into the race where they went straight on, missed the braking point at turn 4, straight into the wall, and huge damage for E-Team Brett as if on cue backwards into the barrier. And Alex, that is, it's difficult to see that because they've had a spirited outing today, and it's difficult when you see that.
I think also when you've got to look into the fact that for a lot of teams this is a new car, and drivers will have practiced ahead of it, and yeah, that car's got a very, very loose back end at the moment. Max Boone trying to bring it through turn 16 and using a lot of steering wheel correction in order to keep it in a straight line coming out of that final corner. But it just depends on how hard a hit that was, and that was on the right-hand side. So whether that's caused a problem with the turning in, I mean, you can actually see. Well, the thing is, physically, we don't know what the damage is, but he'll have a warning on the heads-up display on the middle monitor out of the triples that they run on the simulators here at Simply Race as to where the damage is, and he'll understand it through the force feedback through the direct drive.
Yeah, the technical term for it is the car is goosed. you certainly do it, and the thing is with the force feedback as well, just to explain what that means is that if it's a suspension issue or there's a problem with the steering, it actually makes itself known by when you're steering the car. The car will what's often known as crabbing, where the car turns to a certain direction when it's supposed to be in a straight line. So not the best, but it does look like E-Team Brett Max Spooner getting the best of it and trying to hold on to that car.
Well, I've just seen him go through turn 10 and it went a bit wider coming out of turn 10 heading into 11. Back end sliding out a little bit to the right going through turn 12. So he's trying to make the best of it. So whether he's going to try and see if he can run with it at the moment, or whether he's going to have to bring that car into the pits to repair that damage is another matter altogether, but we could find that out imminently.
So back to Lamati Racing then, and the car in front of them, I've got a funny feeling, is Avanti Racing. Indeed it is. They are a lap up, in fact 2 laps up on this car behind them. So Lamati Racing really having to try and get back. I've got a second yellow flag. I got a feeling that that's going to be E-Team Brit again for Max Spooner. I think it is actually, because I can see him dropping back in terms of pace there. But I mean, when you're Lamati Racing, when you've had a difficult start to the race, Alex, how difficult do you think it is for the team to shake it off and to keep going with it?
I think it's just basically the word harmony really strikes true with team endurance racing, and they've just got to shrug it off, dust themselves up, pick themselves back up, and just, as you said earlier on, knuckle down. You can't really do anything about it. We've had a penalty for E-Team Brit just then. Not too sure what that was for, because we haven't. I don't think we've had any. I'm not too sure if we've had a ping for track limits yet, but it might be the first one of the season, second of the season. So yeah. So so it looks like we're going to have 2 teams already in the first round of the season being pinged for track limits, and as I said earlier, I know what the amount of track cuts are before you get pinged for a track limit penalty, but I'm not at liberty to divulge Avanti Racing in the pits now, and here comes E-Team Brit into the pits here, David.
Yeah, that'll be to either serve the penalty or to get fixed. I think probably both. Avanti Racing into the pits as well. Don't be surprised to see Radicals Online into the pits very, very soon on that one as well. So, as we said, 6 hours 52 left to go. And let's think about what we can expect to see in these final couple of hours of the race then, as we near to the halfway mark. And again, like all endurance races, the entire first 3 quarters of the race is all about setting yourself up for that final stint. You spoke a couple of hours ago, Alex, about the final 90 minutes of the race, and let's just talk about that again. If you want to reiterate just why that's so important.
Well, firstly, to reiterate the fact that we've had 2 incidents with regards to 2 particular teams, Radicals Online and Avanti Racing. Within the first 20 minutes, they were in the pits with damage. Getting those mistakes out of the way is easy enough to counteract, but when it happens in the last 90 minutes to 2 hours, if you're in a position where you could maybe get a podium on the cards, it throws it like water under the bridge. So you've got to really maximise your strategy. Keep it calm, keep it cool, keep it consistent. Don't get flustered under pressure. If you've got a battle on your hands, deal with it and then move on.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it just makes it so important towards the end of the race that those issues get amplified after that. So we'll keep an eye on things and just see how that all develops there. But this is the Cadan Casual Apex machine, currently down in 6th position, trying to hunt down Avanti Racing, as we see E-Team Brit again going very, very wide there. It's been a difficult day out for Max, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, they're going to learn from it over the course of it all happening. So there's going to be learning experiences taken. They're going to acknowledge that, understand it as well, thinking, where could I have done things differently? Could I have approached it a different way? There's so many different ways in which you can learn from a situation. You can analyse the performance. Having a debrief is very, very critical, not just in real life racing, but also in this kind of racing as well. So you can look back and say, right, yeah, I know exactly what I did wrong there. I need to not do that next time out. So you're going to learn from it.
Yeah, for sure. And a fantastic platform for them to be able to do that. And as well, one thing we've mentioned all the time is the fact that if you want to get yourself involved, this is open to everyone, this Endurance Championship. Simply head over to simplyrace.co.uk/SRES. That's simplyrace.co.uk/SRES. Get a bunch of your buddies together and come and take part, and we will see you for the 6 hours of Imola at the end of November. And I've got to be honest, the temptation to take part in it is mega real, Alex.
Yeah, for you especially.
Let's do it. Let's get a team in. Let's get a wildcard team in. Let's get Mike Yao in as well.
What colours are you going for?
Something that
I
just
had to put you on
merges
the
into the
spot.
background.
What, a bit of black and yellow?
Yeah, that'll black and white. That'll do it nicely.
Well, Cadan Casual Apex and E-Team Brit have now pitted, so I think, if memory serves me correctly, you have to serve a penalty, but you can't have any damage or work done on the vehicle if you have to serve a drive-through penalty as such. So E-Team Brit will be now in the pits, and they are now stationary, as are Cadan Casual Apex. Both teams 6th for Cadan Casual Apex. Good to catch up with Phil Webb a bit earlier on, and E-Team Brit running out the 8-strong grid.
Still find it absolutely ridiculous that Radicals Online are doing the pace that they're doing and able to to eat away into the leads. In fact, actually, Campsport as well have taken a good second off of your leader there. It doesn't sound very much, and in the grand scheme of things, it's not a massive amount. But 100 seconds there is the gap. That's now come down to 99 seconds, and is actually coming down a lot quicker than I thought. So, Eating Brett into the pits again. Oh, still, sorry, excuse me.
Moving on.
Pit stop, yeah. Now,
Wake up, Mr. Christie.
What is happening with Fordzilla? Because that gap is actually coming down quite rapidly.
Yeah, it is coming down a little bit, but now at the end of the day, we still have quite a lot of this race to go. I've gone rogue. I've gone mobile again, David, so you can hear the background noise at the moment, so people are chatting away, so hopefully very soon I'll be trying to grab a few more interviews, but it's just really, really nice to see how... I'm just going to have a look around.
Leader into the pits, Alex. Fordzilla into the pits.
Yeah, so Sean Arnold still behind the wheel at the moment, and just going to see what happens here. I think so 50 mile an hour speed limit in the pit lane here at the Buddh International Circuit, the virtual recreation, and he's jumped out. Looks like Jack Ashton getting behind the wheel now.
Awesome stuff. So pit stops normally take about 64 seconds for most of the teams. So Campsport will be trying to make hay while the sun shines, but Radicals Online really are setting themselves up to be in a fantastic position. But this is Cadan Casual Apex currently trying to keep Lamati behind them, and I believe this is it's about a lap between them. So I'm just having a look here. For Fordzilla, I believe... Actually, hang on. Is that a scheduled stop for Fordzilla? Because...
I'm just going to have a look.
I don't know if it is. Did they not already stop?
Right, well, the thing is, they've got...
Yeah, it's a normal one.
Yeah, they've got a full tank of fuel on it. Yeah, well, it looks like they've stopped on the hour, so I'm going to have a little look back to see exactly when they had their last pit stop, David, because Matt Goodyear-Scott has been keeping an eye on things over in Gran Canaria. I hope you're enjoying yourself there, Matt, and we'll see you for a later round in the championship. But I'm going to have a look back, David, and see if I can make heads or tails of this situation and just go from there, really.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very, very strange one nonetheless, because as we said, they did stop, and thank you so much to Matt Giger, Scott, for pointing that out. They stopped at the beginning of the hour, so that is a very strange situation that means that we're now... Yeah, I'm trying to get my head around what that actually means too strategy-wise. I wonder, we've got a yellow flag in Sector 2 now. Who has gone off there? Is that E-Team Brit again? We'll find out in just a second. But
that's Barracuda. They've lost their rear wing.
Well, that is a turn up for the books, and they're really going to struggle getting around the rest of this circuit now. It's a bad day gone from bad to worse for the the fourth place team, and in fact there they are, backwards into the wall again, and you hate to see it. You really, really do hate to see it, but they are going to struggle to get any sort of traction round this circuit, and I've got a feeling that Avanti Racing and Cadan Casual Apex, and oh my goodness me, Alex, this is so difficult to see, isn't it?
Yeah, I completely agree with you there, David. That's the pitfalls of endurance racing. You never want to see something like that happen. And what Barracuda need to do, they need to just bring that back safely to the pit lane. They can't go at full speed because that back end is going to be looser than a NASCAR on Sunday, and now they make their way into the pit lane.
So trouble then for the fourth place car just now, and that is surely going to drop them at least a position back, because it's going to take more than a minute to fix that rear wing on that car. That also upsets their strategy, but the upside of that is that it may be able to put them onto a new strategy. So Avanti Racing now just 100 seconds to catch up to Barracuda, and that could be a fourth position for them. Meanwhile, Radicals Online bring that gap down to Campsport now down to 30 seconds, and Yeah, this is just a scintillating race, and you get the feeling this next hour is going to be very, very important.
It is going to be crucial because now we're going to go into that point of the race where no one knows how this is going to unfold. They're going to have to keep their cards to their chest and exercise their strategies as best they can, because nothing's over yet, David, until the checkered flag falls.
For sure. We're still watching Cadan Casual Apex then. They'll be hoping to try and make some places out of this little issue that has befallen Barracuda. So they'll be hoping to try and make some sunshine there. But they are a lap down as well. Meanwhile, Avanti Racing still hammering that car down, 28 seconds and falling. They could very well take that position here, because a rear wing is not going to be a quick fix on these cars.
No, that car could be in the pit lane for an exceedingly lengthy amount of time on that front. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult for them. They're now going to have to just sort of grin and bear it, and they're just going to have to do what they can. I mean, they've been running really, really well. But they're the second team alongside La Masse Racing, who have both lost their rear wing at one particular point during this race. And they've just got to come back at it, full charge, go for it, see what happens, and roll the dice.
Yeah, for sure on that one. Just looking at the gap to first and second place then, as Radicals Online provisionally take that second place. It's up to 67 seconds between first and second place just now. But when you consider that Radicals Online, if I'm not mistaken, Alex, at one point were a lap down and have brought themselves back into this race and are now within a minute of the leader.
Yeah, well, it's 67.1 seconds at the moment based on the current timing that I'm looking at here on site at Simply Race. And it is, that's the diminutive frame of Callum Cripps still behind the wheel. I think he's just wanting to go for it and go for broke. And, he's done a really, really credible job at the minute, and he's going to keep on pushing. Like I said, he's not going to give up. He's not going to give in. And we still have 6 hours and 40 minutes still to go. So, but when we get to the golden hour, the last hour of the race itself, that's where things are really going to take an interesting turn. Can't wait for it to unfold.
Yeah, and we just saw a replay there of Barracuda, and what they didn't have was a rear wing after mounting the curb in the most unpolite sense possible at this exact corner here. They've learned their lesson, or have they? That was still very, very wide. Dropping down into fifth position, just behind Avanti Racing now. The gap 47.5 seconds. Radicals Online, that gap is now down to 65 seconds. It's gone up slightly to 66. I tell you what, Alex, I am still going to hedge my bets and say within the next 6 hours we could see a challenge for Radicals for the lead. And if you'd asked me that at the opening hour of the race, I would have probably laughed in your face at that one.
You laugh in my face generally anyway.
Hey!
But that's by the by. Hey, don't forget to tip your waitress. She's here all week. Or just on Sunday. Just having a look back, it looked like it was a really rudimentary stop, because it was at 15:44. That was 45 minutes ago. That was when Sean Arnold got behind the wheel. So that looked to be a rudimentary stop. So it was a full stint for Sean Arnold.
Yeah, it's probably because it's 40 minutes and not an hour. It does catch you off guard. So it's trying to keep a hold on these stints here. So I absolutely agree with you. I think it was in the YouTube chat agreeing, or kind of pointing that one out as well, that it was just a predicted stop. But nonetheless, I mean, what a run from Fordzilla. They have been just unrelenting, haven't they? They've really, really pushed it for every single lap that they can. But then you've had this. Radicals Online. I just cannot get over the pace that car has got, lap after lap after lap after lap.
Yeah, they've just been consistent. That's what you need in this kind of endurance event. The 6 hour races are going to be, let's just say, a little bit more spirited. in that sort of vein, because everyone will have a different modus operandi. You can go a bit harder on the tyres, a bit more aggressive on your strategy, but the 12-hour, the 24-hour races, it's a completely different proposition altogether. It just depends on how you get to the opportunity that you need. I still can't believe, David, that we are nearly 5.5 hours into this 12-hour race. It's been crazy so far.
Yeah, it really, really has, and things starting to push up quite quickly. Look at that, Fordzilla lighting the fuse, 140.047 out of the pit stop. Tyres are alive, the fuel is alive, the driver well and truly alive, and that explains why Radicals lost about 1.5 seconds on that. But look at the way this car is being hustled around the track. And Alex, it'd be great to know who's behind the wheel of the Radical at the moment, if it's still Callum Cripps, because it's got a very Callum Cripps vibe to the way that thing is being manhandled around this Indian circuit.
Right, I'm just going to have a look.
Hello there, Alex.
Oh, hello again. No, it's not. No, it isn't. Callum is just walking around. I think he needs to get some blood flow to those legs of his, because they have been working incredibly hard at the moment. No, it is Adam Tierney behind the wheel of... so he's the man that has ragged, abused, violated that car previously in this race, and he's at it again.
Yeah, he really, really is, and a great
I did bring in that word that I said I wouldn't use. Violated.
Such a. But I mean, to be fair, in this context, it's actually very, very appropriate, because the way that he is throwing that car around, it doesn't. It's a style that you don't associate with a DPI car. It's something you'd associate with a rallycross car or a drift car, the way it's just been thrown about with the back end out. But that seems to be the way that he's able to get the speed out of this car.
Is he channeling his inner Andreas Baccarat? They might as well recolour that in Baccarat blue.
I think he very, very well might, but he's doing a cracking job nonetheless, and certainly got more skill than I could ever aspire to have in the cockpit of that car there. Just a reminder then, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the Simply Race Endurance Series Season 4 Round 1 here from Buddh International Circuit for the 12 hours to kick the new season off. It's David Christie along with Alex Goldschmidt here, coming to the end of this first part of the stream. We'll be moving over to part 2 in about half an hour's time. But Alex, I mean, we're coming up to 6 hours gone, and like you, I just can't believe where the time has gone. But it is scary, given what we've had happen in this first 5.5 hours. I mean, Radicals Online, the comeback that they've done has been nothing short of heroic.
A miracle is definitely what they needed, but the miracle they had was the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Callum Cripps. Oh, good afternoon to Mr. Will Dendy. Good to have him with us. He's watching along as well. Yes, the stream will be going on to part 2 around about 5 o'clock this afternoon to take us all the way through to the conclusion of round 1 of the 2021-2022 Simply Race Endurance Series. But yeah, I mean, it's great to, you know, they didn't need a miracle. They just needed someone that was spirited and very good as a wheelman. I mean, if you put Callum Cripps into a getaway driver situation, I think he'd be absolutely fine with that one.
Yeah, I have to absolutely agree with you. It's been a fascinating chess match that we've had unfolding in front of our very eyes. As always, if you like what you see, if you could like the video and subscribe to the Simply Race YouTube channel, it would do a very, very good service to us. We've just posted the part 2 link. We'll be moving over very shortly. Emily Wilson, I think by now, it's just time to just sack off the dissertation. Poor Emily's been trying desperately in the background to get her dissertation done, and keeps getting distracted by the racing and by us. So we're not going to be giving up any of the distractions. So you might as well just give in and just crack on with it at like 12 o'clock midnight. Is there anything more studenty than doing a last minute night before full charge
What
on
on
this
a
occasion?
Sunday?
Yeah,
And she's been bless her for keeping herself, trying to get herself occupied and keep herself focused on it since 8 o'clock this morning. And Matt Goodger-Scott, why have you been drinking coffee when you're in Gran Canaria? I have to ask.
It's a bit of a poor effort there, really.
Yeah, I know. I think
you're going to be wanting to drink.
Yeah, he says, I've been drinking coffee. I don't think that's an excuse. No, you need to be drinking something a bit different from that, Matt. Thank you very much indeed. And he's already been burnt with by me once already today when we talked about suntans. Sorry about that, Matt. My apologies. But yeah, I mean, it's really, really good to see that. Just looking in the facility here, I mean, it's just really, really nice. I mean, it's great. I think I've just seen Matt Webb just rock up as well, who's done a bit of work with E-Team Brit previously. He also does. He's a bit of a dab hand behind a sim racing, sim rig wheel as well in his own right. So it's really good to see. I mean, we even earlier on had 3 young teenage lads come up here thinking they could get a good session, and then were I think promptly told, unfortunately, this is a closed event effectively. So it just goes to show that people do love coming here to simply race. So if you want to get the opportunity to come down here to the centre in Milton Keynes, head to simplyrace.co.uk. You can find out about special offers for relevant events where you can have the opportunity of going behind the wheel of a GTE car, a single-seater. You can even come in for, like, say, a 20-minute session, which will cost you just shy of £10. And you can go on any track or car combination that Simply Race have at their disposal. Really, really good facilities, Thrustmaster equipment, state-of-the-art gaming PCs, which are very, very colourful, with the pride flags being well and truly emblazed on pods 3, 4, I think 8 as well. So, but Simply Race is a very, very good place to be, and it's just really good to see that these drivers are pushing like crazy. We are effectively half an hour from hitting the halfway mark, David, and there is no lack of commitment, I can very much guarantee, from any of the teams thus far.
Yep, we're just seeing Fordzilla just behind Barracuda at the moment. So Barracuda already a lap down. This could be to put them 2 laps down, which would be a very difficult thing for them to swallow. I think they're just going to let it happen. I think they kind of have to just let it happen. They've not just let it happen. They've still got Fordzilla behind them. But that also means that Camsport now are a lap down as well, because you've got Fordzilla just in front of them. So, Alex, that means now we've got one car along with the leader on the lead lap, and that is Radicals Online.
Yeah, quite interesting with the pace now, because the gap now has just gone under 65 seconds, 64.2 at the last intermediate, and Radicals Online, Adam, Mr. Tierney is on a tear at the moment, quite literally, nearly well over a 10.5 up in Sector 1, a 10th and a bit up in Sector 2, and close to a 10th up in Sector number 3. Radicals Online are giving chase to Fordzilla, and I think Fordzilla will recognise this. They'll see the on their heads-up display, they'll understand the closest driver to them, the closest team to them, and thereby they'll start to react accordingly, but they want to keep it consistent, and that is what Fordzilla have done since we went racing just 5.5 hours ago, David. It is about the consistency, and the consistency is key to winning a championship.
Yeah, it really is. You can't ask for any more from some of these drivers, and it's been a fantastic day at the races. We hope you've absolutely enjoyed it just as much as we have, but there is still plenty more in the tank from all of the drivers, or at least there's going to have to be, because we've got 6.5 hours left to go in this race. Matt Goodger-Scott saying that he's going to be on the Sangria later. What a lad. That is exactly what we want.
Emily Wilson's just said, good lad. Exactly.
It's got to be done.
He needs to get on harder stuff if he's over in Gran Canaria, doesn't he?
Well, it's...
Matt, what's your poison?
It's Bring the old Jaeger bombs out to play. Job done. That's what we need
Oh
on.
no! That is a swear word where I come from.
4 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. That's exactly what you need. Six. I said that.
Not during the broad. Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Not for
We
you,
need to
Mr.
have-
Christie.
We need to have one race, right? An exhibition race where we try and do it, and for every yellow flag that comes out, we get a shot. That I think that would be the most spectacular thing in broadcast history.
Well, the thing is that Matt and Goodger Scott is saying the mojitos are pretty good here in Gran Canaria. Good choice.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, I don't want to, imply that it's my Scottish nature and that we're degenerating into talk about alcohol and 4 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, but play to your strengths and all that.
Yeah, true. Kudos where it's due, of course. But you've already mentioned Jaeger bombs, and now we've mentioned sangria and mojitos. What's next? G&T?
No, I've never been a G&T man. My partner.
No,
enjoys
neither
it.
have I.
Good
There
bottle of
are a
gin.
couple of bottles. There's a couple of bottles of Gordon's actually on the top shelf on the bar here, David.
Is there any bottles of amaretto though? That is what we need to know. Because if there is, then I'll be down for the next round.
Our survey says. Sorry.
That's it, right.
There's,
Well,
a
you're
bottle
on
of
your own.
there's a bottle of JD. There's a bottle of Malibu as well. Bottle of Bacardi. They've even got some ciders on display as well. Different flavours of Balmers. You've also got some Corona, Stella, Coors, Budweiser. Oh, name your poison, sir.
Right, Lamati racing into pit lane then from 7th position. They are 103 seconds ahead of E-Team Brit, so they are certainly going to be safe in that 7th position for just now. The gap between first and second place is stabilised at 66 seconds. There is E-Team Brit at the back of the field, and that's a pretty interesting line around the corner. We'll just not talk about that at all. Radicals Online though in second place though. I've got to be honest, I think Fordzilla have got a stranglehold round the grip of this race.
They have, but that's with just over 6 hours and 25 minutes to go, David. Keeping that lead is one thing, but then seeing if someone else is going to try and challenge is something completely different altogether. Now with the top two teams, Fordzilla and Radicals Online, on the same lap, Camsport now effectively a lap down in third place, Avanti Racing 2 laps down, and then oh, look at this, 3 laps down through Barracuda, Cadan Casual Apex 4 laps off of the leader, and Lamasi Racing 5 laps, E-Team Brit 6 laps, but obviously with the issue that we had with the full course yellow issue for Cadan Casual Apex and E-Team Brit when not needing fuel. If they were like literally on the reserve, I could understand it. But yeah, very, very astute observation from our race director, Grant Lyman, who is behind his desk, by the bar.
For just now.
I'm not going... for just now, you say?
Yeah, well, we saw him jumping into life earlier when we had those technical issues, didn't we? Was it Grant that was doing the replacing?
I was wondering if he was going to like literally put his Batman cape on. Radicals in second place into pit lane, so that adds a new dynamic to the race then. And I've got to be honest, I think they're going to be very quickly catching up to Camsport, because that gap now, I believe, is down to about 30 seconds. Yeah, exactly. It's these pit stops are. It's a lengthy trip down the pit lane, especially going through into the entry. But it's a shorter blast coming out. But also, it depends on where your car is situated in pits. And so,
hang on,
if you're a bit closer,
I'm a bit confused there, because we just saw Radicals going into pits, and then right. Okay, I'm confused as to what happened there, because it said they went into pits about 40 seconds ago, but we just saw them going into pits there.
Well, I can see from the pod itself, it is in the pits.
That was just. I no idea what happened. Never mind. They're in the pits anyway, and they should be coming out in the next 4 seconds.
They're exiting now.
Yeah.
Exiting now, David.
There we go. That's happy days. So they're out. They're 23 seconds behind Camsport. So Camsport are going to be very easy prey. But that now means that we've got one car on the lead lap, and that is your race leader. That is some effort from Team Fordzilla.
It is indeed, and we've just got to see how they keep motoring on over the next 6 hours and 23 minutes. So the running order still at the moment, Fordzilla leading the way, Camsport now into second after a pit stop for Radicals Online in pod 7, Avanti Racing in pod 11 round out the top 4 ahead of Ubarakuda in pod 9, Cadan Casual Apex pod 10 rounding out the top 6 ahead of Lamarty Racing in pod 13, and last but by certainly no means least, E-Team Brits pod 15 in 8th position.
Awesome stuff. 6 hours 22 minutes left to go in the race, and E-Team at the back, they've really had a voyage of discovery this afternoon, a spirited effort. They've kept things going, and in all honesty, from our experience, Alex, that's exactly what you need to do, because how often have we said, it's looked so comfortable for a team, and then within the last hour something incredibly dramatic comes out of the blue?
It can happen like that, and I mean, just having a little meander around, just seeing where people are in terms of their who's behind the wheel. Looks like Phil Webb behind the wheel for Cadan Casual Apex, Tierney behind the wheel of Radicals Online. Looks like Christian Kelly behind the wheel for Camsport. Max Spoon is still behind the wheel for E-Team Brits. Jack Ashton behind the wheel for Team Fordzilla. Really good to see. Hopefully we'll have a catch up with some of the other teams a little bit later on in the broadcast when we head over to part 2 of the stream, which will be around about 5 o'clock this afternoon.
So something else that was interesting, Alex, is are there many people there that aren't actually driving? Is there supporters, or is there maybe family members there?
Yeah, you're always going to get that. I mean, the thing is, from my perspective here, David, as I'm just going to plonk backside down on the chair. Hang on a second, bear with me. Yeah, there are some people in support, and just making sure that everything's all well and good. And that's what you need. Sometimes at these events when, okay, we're still having to work under COVID-19 restrictions, social distancing, hand sanitisation, some people opting to wear face masks when in proximity of other people. But it's nice to see that there are people in support of each other. I think I even saw a little family being, I think it might have been at the Cadan Casual Apex crew, where you had mother, father and baby all together in the same area, which was
what
really
a huge
nice
moment for Cadan Casual Apex, Alex. A huge spin for the driver of that car. They managed to recover there, but that was a scary moment. Sorry about that.
Yeah, clean up on aisle 3 for Phil Webb. Thank you very much.
I think
and he's just rejoined.
So.
Code Brown engaged.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But yeah, I mean, that's a brilliant point, because obviously families and people who are maybe not, or maybe they, for the past 18 months, Alex, they've only seen, their friends, family member, loved one, in their own room or in the living room or in the cupboards, taking part in these things. So
in the cupboards, what are there skeletons in there?
No, but I'm speaking from experience.
I know what you mean.
I had a proper man cave set up with a wheel, and we've got a penalty for Ubarakuda, so their day is getting considerably worse because they are 45 seconds behind Avanti Racing. I've got a feeling that's going to drop them potentially into the clutches of Cadan Casual Apex there, Alex.
Could very well be the case, but just as long... Phil Webb looks back up to full racing speed at the moment after that unfortunate spin just a moment ago where he had clean up on aisle 3, Code Brown and new virtual underwear required all at the same time.
Yep, Ubarakuda into pit lane then, and that's likely going to be 4 track limits. It's going to be I'd imagine a drive-through penalty for that car. That isn't going to cost them actually too bad in terms of a penalty. It's probably only going to cost them about maybe 20 seconds, if that at all. 18.7 seconds is what it cost them, plus the slow down and speed up time of getting into to pit lane. Fordzilla then still in the lead of this race from Cam Sport and Radicals Online. Radicals Online doing the big moves right now, trying to catch up to that second place. They're currently 21 seconds off of your second place team just now. Avante Racing a lap down, 2 laps off of the leader there. Barracuda in 5th position. 6th place is Kadan Casual Apex, 7th place for Lamati, and 8th place for the Team Brit. So let's spend a couple of minutes thinking over the past 6 hours, Alex, because we're coming up to the end of the first stream here. So it's a good chance for us to reminisce, and it feels like an absolute lifetime ago since we actually started this race.
Eternity is an understatement when you mention it that way, David. But yes, we've had some contentious moments with overtake. I think the most overzealous outbreak manoeuvre of the day goes to Callum Cripps on the very first couple of minutes of the race. But yeah, between Barracuda and Radicals Online, that side-by-side battle is still the biggest sticking point. But then also you've got to look at Team Fordzilla's strategy, just to keep on pressing onward, just keep it consistent, keep to a lap time delta that is going to be achievable for all 3 drivers and maintain a solid, healthy lead. And that's exactly what they're doing, because now with the way things have changed around with Radicals Online going into pit lane, that now re-promotes Cam Sport back up into 2nd position. But now Fordzilla only team on the lead lap.
And that is such a huge thing for that team, but I've got to be honest, Cam Sport right behind them, possibly trying to unlap themselves. I wonder actually if Fordzilla are maybe just trying to manage this race, manage the tyres, manage the car, and just keep things on an even keel.
It comes back to that point I said earlier on, mechanical sympathy. And one of the things that Team Fordzilla have done is that they have not gotten the car into any off-track excursions to the point where it could compromise a pit stop strategy and also their race in general, because we've had it that Radicals Online have done one of the absolute dynamite. They've been on a tear going through this circuit at the moment, and to be completely honest, the way that you come back from such a, what some people might call a trivial misunderstanding with the barrier, can be construed as something very, very different when you're actually the team that has been directly affected. And the mechanical sympathy that Fordzilla have done with their car has been, to a point, right up until now, with 15 minutes to go until we hit the halfway point. We're just over 5 minutes away from going on to the second part of the stream for the opening round of the Simply Race Endurance Series, the 12 hours of Buddh International Circuit in the virtual recreation of India. I think it's just about that you've got to look at it from this way, and one of the teams that I feel really, really sorry for, who have had the biggest technical dramas, and there's 2 of them. You've got Barracuda have had a massive issue. They had 2 respectively within a couple of hours of each other. Cam Sport, the biggest casualty, being hit with 2 pedal issues within quick succession. But still, nevertheless, the work that Grant Lyman here at Simply Race, springing into action like a scalded cat on a hot tin roof,
like a young gazelle.
Yeah, like a young gazelle. Oh God, if he hears that when he plays back the stream a bit later on, when he gets a chance, he'll hear that one and he'll go, "Why are you comparing me to a gazelle, David Christie?"
That shall be reasons between me and him.
And you can discuss that off air. But yeah, I think realistically that the job that Fordzilla have done so far, and I'm just keeping an eye on fuel levels at the moment. 21.5 is showing on the fuel gauge at the minute for Cam Sport. Just going to have a look around at the moment, Dave, just seeing where fuel levels lie at the moment.
Top secret information coming out here. I'm loving this, Alex.
11.3 Fordzilla. that's a lotto. That's about 50 litres there, 50 on the gauge. E-Team Britain probably looks to be trying to sort of look from a distance. New Barracuda just under 20. E-Team Brit 11. Yeah. So a lot of teams now in the 12 range bracket on the fuel, which will be apparently litres.
So, we've got a yellow flag in Sector 2. Let's have a look who that is. I've got a horrible fear. 18 Brett. Oh dear. Is that still Max that's behind the wheel there? Because, yeah, that's a shame if that is.
I'm just going to say this. Dum, da, dum, dum. Sorry.
I thought you were ready to break into just one cornetto.
He's been asking Wolves Ice Cream for sponsorship recently, apparently, he's told me.
Right, I mean... Oh,
moving on.
Yeah. So he's hit the curb, and to be honest, we've seen many drivers, many teams doing exactly the same thing. Absolutely nothing to.
It was that was a clean up on the aisle 3 operation coming out of turn 11 there.
Yeah.
Whoops! It was. He tried to channel his inner Callum Cripps, and it didn't work out. And Callum is actually standing right next to me on my left-hand side, and he's laughing at that one.
Actually, it might be a chance to have a chat with Callum and just find out how he's able to throw that car around in such almost a violent fashion.
I think what I'll do is I'll have a chat with Callum after the break when we go on to the second half of the stream. But yeah, I think his partner in crime, Mr. Tierney, is doing an absolutely fantastic job. I mean, they are both literally grabbing the back spoiler of that Cadillac DPI by the coattails and just literally throwing it along for the ride. And they have not given up. That is the key point in endurance racing. As they say, you take a lick and you keep on ticking. But they have kept going. The resolve, the determination, the motivation to get up there. And Callum said to me, we might be able to get a podium. Well, having ended up towards the back end of the field early on, they are now up into a genuine third place on pace between the pair of them. And the pair of them have been doing an absolutely sterling job, I must say.
Yeah, sterling job all round, and a huge congratulations. So what we're going to do then, ladies and gentlemen, is we are not going to stop either. We are going to move over to part 2 of the stream. We will be back in about 5 minutes or so with some coverage and continuing coverage of the race. We're going to keep going on Facebook, but we'll head over to part 2 on YouTube. So switch over there, and we'll see you on part 2 on YouTube.